All right, we're live.
All right, live we are, and this is Endgame Live. Thanks for watching, all our loyal viewers. We appreciate. In fact, this channel keeps growing and growing. That means that hopefully we're helping you guys with some good advice. We're not going to nail it 100% of the time, but it is fantasy football. What fun would it be if you knew everything that was going to happen ahead of time? So we're going to help you with some of those tough flex decisions, especially who to start, who to sit. It's week 13, and so that means that playoffs are right around the corner. I mean, next week is going to be the opening week of playoffs for most of you. You want to nail it, you want to get it right. For a lot of you, it's actually critical whether you get in the playoffs or seeding. You might have that first round bye. So let's get to the questions. But first, as always, this season, there's a lot of information as far as who's in, who's out, and who's back. A lot of big names are back this week. And let's start with what we know officially. We're going to go with Lamar Jackson first. It has been declared that he is going to be back against the Cowboys, which is a pretty nice matchup. But here's the thing. Lamar Jackson this year has not been Lamar Jackson, obviously, of last year. We knew that was going to come to some extent, but also based on, the fact that he's missed over a week, we know that we saw Cam Newton took a while for him to get kind of back into shape after he was off from COVID. You don't know how he's going to react if he's physically 100%. So it's a shaky start. I know we might get some questions about him, but Lamar Jackson right now is going to play. I don't think we even have word. Chris, do we know about Mark Andrews yet from the Ravens? Because we've been looking up some information. I don't even know if he's officially going to go.
Yeah, this is so weird. I can't find anything. So he should be cleared because if he has symptoms, then he won't be cleared. But if he didn't have any symptoms from his positive test, then he'll be cleared. But I haven't heard anything. And they play on Tuesday now. They're the last game of the slate of the whole weekend. So you really, unless you have somebody on Monday who I don't even know who you would have that you feel good about, you probably are going to have to bench Mark Andrews again, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's another thing. We're just used to it. Tuesday football is just a weekly thing now. So another Tuesday game. It's just way too risky. Again, for me, we told you guys last week, avoid the Steelers in that game. Of course, you weren't going to play Ravens, but we said, it's better off if you don't. And for the most part, it was pretty good if you did. Disappointing performance all around for a lot of those players. That's so kind of crazy. Ben Roethlisberger threw 51 passes and you get like 236 yards. I'm not sure how that happens. Speaking of the Steelers, also a later game pushed back because of the whole situation. James Conner is eligible, I think, to come off of the COVID list, but he's probably not going to play. Even if he did, you probably don't want to play him anyway. So James Conner, it looks like he's not playing this week. Don't put him in your lineup at all. You could roll with Benny Snell if you want. I don't recommend it, but it's possible. All right, let's keep going now. Who's back? Jonathan Taylor also off that list. He didn't have COVID, but he was a close contact, and he did miss last week's game. He is back, and he's got a great spot. In fact, talked about him in our start sit. If you watched that video, if you didn't, shame on you. We talk about all these players that we like and don't like. But Jonathan Taylor is a guy that I feel you have to start against Houston. I mean, it's a great opportunity. Remember when we last saw him 90 yards. So I do like Taylor this week. Did like for a second Todd Gurley last week, and he didn't wind up playing. Instead, it was Brian Hill, who we've got a ton of questions about. He didn't deliver. Chris, you were right about that. You just didn't buy into the Brian Hill hype, and you were correct not to. Now, good news is we don't have to even think twice about Brian Hill or Ito Smith, I don't think, because Gurley looks like he will play. Do you have interest in any of these players against the Saints, which have one of the best run defenses in the league?
I mean, you can always start Gurley for his potential touchdown upside, but don't expect a lot outside of a touchdown. Like this isn't going to be 100 yards and a touchdown type of game. But for Hill and Smith, no way. They're honestly, they can go to the waiver wire because we saw last week, what are you holding Brian Hill for, Ito Smith for a Todd Gurley injury? Well, we had a Todd Gurley injury and these guys just split carries. No one's really, more valuable than the other. So I think you can drop those guys for somebody else on your waivers who might have upside due to an injury or due to a situation change for sure.
Yeah, I mean, really, everything fell perfectly. If Brian Hill was going to smash, it was like the perfect situation. Gurley was out. He was the starter. It was against a poor run defense. And game script actually went their way. They were winning. They killed the Raiders. And yet somehow Brian Hill still didn't do very much. But yeah, it's going to be basically a timeshare, even if Gurley missed another week, which he's not. So Gurley's back. You can start him, but it's not a great place for him. David Johnson is also back. He missed a couple of weeks. So Duke Johnson pretty much can go to the waiver wire. He didn't really do much other than that 1 week, Chris, when you called it against Detroit, where he did rack up some points. But David Johnson is back, but it's not a good matchup for him either against Indy. I'd say David Johnson more kind of a low end RB2. And I only say that just because there aren't very many other running backs we can trust. Do you feel okay about David Johnson against the Colts?
I mean, I feel okay about it because even Duke Johnson, we thought, he gets to work. Doesn't do a lot with it, but he gets to work. And David Johnson kind of the same. He'll get to work just like Gurley. He's got a chance to score a touchdown. I'd kind of rank him similar to Todd Gurley, to be honest, to me, because for some reason, Deshaun Watson doesn't throw to running back. Maybe he'll have to now that Fuller's out. I'm sure we'll get to that. But he doesn't throw to running backs very often. So again, I think with David Johnson, kind of like Todd Gurley, touchdown dependent, you're hoping for that score, but he can get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him is that he wouldn't be very interesting, except now that might have to get more receiving work just because there's just no other receivers. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Also back, this is an interesting one. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Dolphins fan. Myles Gaskin, because not only is he out, but Salvon Ahmed is still out with that shoulder injury. Matt Breida is out, and DeAndre Washington. So now Gaskin goes from the IR to being activated, and he's the only running back in Miami. He's going to get a full workload, and going against Cincinnati defense, got to love Gaskin this week. J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram are both back. Pick your poison there. Again, the matchup is good, and Lamar Jackson is back, so you could have some interest. I like Dobbins, the best of that group. Chris, I know you've had zero interest in Mark Ingram all year, which has been pretty much the right idea. And then Gus Edwards is still there. Quickly, how do you feel about Dobbins or maybe Edwards this week?
Honestly, I'd feel a lot better about Dobbins if he was able to play last week and we saw him get similar usage to what we saw a couple weeks ago. I'm a little nervous just because all three of them are healthy. Is he going to get that kind of usage? And again, Lamar Jackson doesn't throw to the running backs. They don't throw to the running backs. They one catch. That's all you're going to get. So if he's not getting 15 plus carries, if he's only getting 10 carries, he better do a lot with those 10 carries. So I get it if you have to start him and you're just banking on the fact that they like Dobbins way more than the other guys, but I'm not ready to proclaim that yet. If he gets it this week, then it's time to roll him out. But for me right now, it's like still wait and see time.
Wait and see. Plus the fact that, again, coming off a whole week where no practice, right? Nothing going on. And you expect he's just going to step in and be a stud this week. It's tough to see. I think Dobbins more of an RB3. I know some people are a little too high on him this week. Receivers here, DJ Chark is back after missing a week. It's a great matchup with Minnesota, but Mike Glennon at quarterback, how's that going to work? We don't know yet because they haven't been on the field yet together. Brandon Ayuk is back. Definitely a solid start as always. Zach Ertz is officially back, and I had some words about him. I don't feel like you want to put him in your lineup, but Zach Ertz is on the field, so we'll see how that goes. Just be, I guess, a little vigilant by watching his snap share, but also his target share with Goddard doing pretty well lately. We'll see how that works out. So Zach Ertz is officially active today. And at quarterback, Drew Lock. That means the Broncos actually have a quarterback this week, so good for them. There is the thought that Drew Lock could put up some garbage time stats because they're playing the Chiefs. So, we've seen that happen a couple of times, back in the middle of the season where fourth quarter he piled up some numbers. Do you feel like Drew Lock, just through sheer volume, could put up enough numbers to make him at least a QB2 this week? Or are you just avoiding Broncos offense completely?
Yeah, if I can, I'm avoiding this offense. Always he can. He has a chance in garbage time to throw, a couple meaningless touchdowns or something. But prior to that, he might have a fumble and 3 interceptions or something. You know what I mean? So it might not even be enough to overcome it. So no, just off the Broncos. Off the Broncos.
Off the Broncos.
Although
that's a good idea.
Although I should say I'm not off him like I was last week where I was completely off him. I still think Jerry Jeudy is a nice like wide receiver 3 type play if you need a boom potential, because we have seen with Drew Lock, he gets plenty of targets, he gets a ton of air yards, he has the potential to boom. And now I think Noah Fant is an okay tight end start. I'm not going to rank him like top 5, but I think he's an okay tight end start, not like last week. But other than that, no, off the Broncos.
Yeah, and Jeudy has been banged up, questionable heading this weekend. I think he's going to play. He's not going to be out, but something to watch too. Not a great matchup against the Chiefs, but he would be the guy. And we'll talk dynasty in this offseason. We'll do plenty of videos there. And I'd be interested to see if the Broncos stick with Locker if they go for a quarterback, but that's for another time. And then my boy Tua, it looks like he is going to get the start if he's good to go, which might be up to the game time decision, but it looks like they want him to be the guy. So get off Fitzpatrick this week if you were thinking it's a good spot for him. Too risky there. It looks like Tua might get the start, but we'll double check before the show is over. All right, and then who looks like they are in, had some questionable designations here, guys who were injured, limited in practice. Julio Jones, he is going to play. Obviously, there's a chance he's not 100% or that he gets pulled during the game. That hamstring has bothered him all year. So I think you have to play him. I know we'll get a lot of questions about him, but he is in for what it's worth. Allen Robinson looks like he's going to go. Terry McLaurin, shouldn't worry. He's going to go, barring setback. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had been absent from practice a couple of days, not from injury, and it was an illness, but not COVID related. I think it was a stomach bug or something. So he should play in this game, but they did say something about how they're going to check and see how he feels before game time. That just kind of makes it a little risky, you know, guys, if they're not quite right, especially something like that, maybe not in for a great week. And Denver had been giving up the most rushing yards to running backs the last 3 weeks, so it could have been a great spot for him, but I think we need to back a little bit off him this week. And then Phillip Lindsay in that game also, he is good to go, but I don't think we can expect much from him. And then Carlos Hyde, it looks like he is in. But again, I'm not worried at all. I did talk about Chris Carson in our running back episode this week. Chris Carson is going to see his workload go up, and Hyde, I think, is going to get a few touches, but that's about it. So don't plug Carlos Hyde into your lineups. And then who's out? Well, you know Will Fuller. He's out for the season. Thanks for half a good season. Again, Will Fuller. Deandre Swift looked like it was going to be his chance to make a comeback and maybe prove that he could win some leagues for us down the stretch. Doubtful, I think, officially doubtful, probably going to be ruled out any minute now. Kind of scary there, actually, the fact that this is concussion related. They're saying he doesn't look quite right since then. Adrian Peterson was saying that he just doesn't have the same, responsiveness. I mean, Chris, real quick on DeAndre Swift, are we worried about him rest of the season? Like, it's just going to be one of these things where he's just not the same? Yeah,
this is scary. I'm not even worried. Like, forget football, right? This is just scary. Like Adrian Peterson said he hasn't really been himself since he came back from the concussion. I mean, we've seen what brain injuries do to guys long term. So this is really scary. This is bigger than football. So right now, let's just hope that he makes a full recovery, whether it's this year or next year, and gets back to himself, because that's really the most important thing. But yeah, it definitely puts his status for the rest of the season in doubt for sure.
And that's exactly it. And I think applaud the Lions at this point for keeping him out. I don't know if it was their choice so much, but either way, glad to see he's not playing if that's the case. And so from a fantasy perspective, yeah, we were hoping for big things down the stretch. I think we have to definitely back off there with him. Hopefully he gets recovered very soon, but let's keep going here. Jonnu Smith is out. Get your Anthony Ferkser in your lineup. Maybe, no. Actually, Chris, you talked about Corey Davis. You love him this week, so that's a smart play at wide receiver. Adam Humphries should be back also. Talk about who's back. Obviously not fantasy relevant, but he could get a few targets, so whatever that's worth. And then, of course, Kenny Gallaudet is just not playing. Are we ever going to see Kenny Gallaudet again?
No, I'm waiting. I remember I think it was like a few weeks ago, and Gus, if you're watching, you know what I'm talking about. There was a report came out that, oh, hey, Joe Mixon's injury is minor. And then I tweeted out like, yeah, minor injury that's held him out for 5 weeks. And then a day or two later, boom, he was on IR. And so the other day when the Kenny Gallaudet didn't practice, I tweeted out, oh yeah, don't worry guys, it's just a minor injury. So I don't even understand, like, why is he not on IR? Like, what is even the point? Are you going to bring him back for like the last 2 games of the meaningless season? I don't get it. It just seems to me at this point. I mean, I'm not saying drop Kenny Gallaudet because maybe they will, but it's looking more and more unlikely that he's going to play this year, or he's going to play again this year, I should say. Yeah,
it's funny. This week, the last thing I saw about him is that he's making progress. Obviously, like a snail making progress.
He's progressing closer and closer towards the IR.
To IR. Yeah, there you go. It's just, and this is why I'll just say diversify. If you are like me and you have like 10, 15 teams, especially if you play best ball and you do multiple leagues, don't pick the same player. I have way too much Kenny Gallaudet this year. In fact, that's probably the one player I have the most exposure to on teams, and this is why. So anyways, diversify your bonds. All right. I think that does it. Unless we have any breaking news, Chris, let me know. And if not, then we'll get to the questions.
No breaking news. Got a lot of questions already coming in. We love it, guys. It's awesome. Real quick, I put a link at the top to our Discord server. That's right. We started the Discord server. So if you want to chat with us during the games, hop in there. It's totally free. That's it. So links at the top. Let me know if it doesn't work. All right, let's jump into it. Dollar bill DDB. Big week this week, of course, because you guys, a lot of you must-win situations. He needs one. Jonathan Taylor, Myles Gaskin, Devontae Booker, half PPR.
Oh, man. Okay. And, of course, Josh Jacobs out, obviously. I don't remember if I mentioned him at the top, but, yeah, we did talk about him on the running back episode, if you guys watched. Jacobs out, and Devontae Booker looking like a really good spot for him. Now, I know some of you are worried. And Chris, I want your take on this. This is a Brian Hill situation. We got a backup who has never really earned a starting share, and he had a chance in Denver. It kind of looked like he was dead until he came back with the Raiders this year. And now the starter's gone, and it's against the Jets. So am I going to be way too high on Devontae Booker this week? I got Devontae Booker number 12 in my running back rankings. So before I answer this question, what's your take on Booker?
Yeah, my take on Booker, I like Booker. It's a good situation. It seems like he should be the guy, but like you said, it could be a Brian Hill situation. When I look at these three guys, I look at Jonathan Taylor. Is he guaranteed to get the bulk of the touches there? No. Nyheim Hines there. I don't know if we've gotten an update on Wilkins, if he's in or not. I haven't heard, but Wilkins potentially there. So not sure. Booker, yeah. Should he get the bulk of the touches? Yes, but will he? I don't know. Jalen Richard is there. I forget who the other guy is. Like, there's no guarantee. Myles Gaskin, he's pretty much the only guy. He's going to get probably 90% of the running back touches, and he's in a great matchup. So for me, I'm just going to roll with the guy who I feel like I know is going to get the bulk of the touches, and that's Myles Gaskin. And don't even have to stress. Yeah, it might suck if Booker goes off for 2 touchdowns, and you're like, dang it, why did I do that? But at least you don't have to stress about the fact, like, why is Booker, losing touches to Jalen Richard?
Yeah, and that all makes sense. So I'll say for the first answer, the first part of it is Jonathan Taylor. Do I think he could have a great week? Yes, I had him as a must start. But is there a risk baked in there? Obviously there is, because like you said, and I mentioned Jordan Wilkins, they said he's banged up, but he hasn't had an injury designation this week, so he's going to play, right? I mean, he may only get 3 or 4 carries, but still that's 3 or 4 carries less that Taylor gets. Nyheim Hines is going to get the receptions, most of them, or he gets red zone work. So could Taylor have a big week? Absolutely. I think he could, but is he a better bet than those other two? No. And then as far as Gaskin, a lot of moving parts there because, like I said, just a couple of days, within a couple of days span, all of a sudden we realize that not only is he back, but the other guys aren't. I think if Tua starts, then that means they'll rely on the running game quite a bit more. And I think they'll be able to run the ball more because, well, it's Cincinnati playing a third-string quarterback and without Joe Mixon, by the way. So Gaskin is your safe choice for sure. I honestly slightly lean toward Booker, though, and I might maybe set myself up for another Brian Hill situation here. But Booker has looked really good. I've been on Booker. Maybe it's because I've been on Booker for the last 3-4 weeks, telling you in the waiver wire. Because if you watch our waiver wire videos, I think it's been 3 weeks in a row. I've said, pick up Devontae Booker, pick up Devontae Booker. This is why you pick up Devontae Booker 3 weeks ago, because even though he wasn't worth starting, now he could be an RB1. So I kind of lean Booker because, number one, like you said, who else do they have? They really don't. Right. And then it's the Jets. So I feel like game script has got to be definitely in their favor. So I slightly lean Booker, but Gaskin is probably the safer choice.
Yeah. There you go.
Just because Booker, I think, has a higher ceiling. That's my reason. But it depends if you want, like I said, if you don't want to take a chance, that something happens, and Gaskin's probably a safer pick.
All right. There you go, dollar bill. So go by ceiling or floor, I suppose. All right, Heath Johnson, good morning. Welcome back. Good to see you. So here's a QB question, and I think we're going to get a lot of these. I think we're going to get a lot of both these guys, honestly. So Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray. I think we're going to get a lot of Watson questions because of Fuller, and I think we're going to get a lot of Murray questions because he's not running.
Okay, so both, definitely reasons to worry about both. You'd seem like you have 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, which you do, but Watson without Fuller, just saw something yesterday that with Fuller on the field, He's at a positive 24.3 EPA, and without Fuller, he's negative 1.6 or something. Okay, now does that mean he's going to completely tank and not fancy relevant without Fuller? No, not necessarily, but it depends on the matchup. And this is Indianapolis, and they got DeForest Buckner back. Watson, I honestly have outside my top 10 this week. Murray, I have just barely inside because it's a terrible matchup with the Rams, but at least his rushing ceiling is higher than Watson. So I'm going with Murray, even though I'm worried about the shoulder. He hasn't looked quite right since the shoulder injury a couple weeks ago.
And that's the thing. He's not running since that shoulder injury. And
which is
it's
weird.
Funny. It's funny because through the first however many weeks when he was just crushing it, and I tweeted out like, hey guys, when you're drafting next year and you see Kyler Murray sitting there in the second round, don't draft him. And everybody's like, oh, he can sustain this. He can sustain this. And here we are. We're seeing it. When that rushing goes away, when he's not scoring rushing touchdowns, this is what you're going to get, right? And it's not a knock on Murray. It's just a fact that it takes away his upside. I still have to go Watson personally. He's been playing so good. And look, when he lost DeAndre Hopkins, we all said, oh, he's not going to be able to do it without DeAndre Hopkins. Now it's like, oh, he's not going to be able to do it without Will Fuller. Well, maybe Deshaun Watson is just really good, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, I know I would certainly like him a lot more with Fuller, but I still got to roll with him. But again, like you said, it's close. These are both good starts. Not as good as normal weeks, but there's both good starts. So you're just going to have to pick one and hope it's the right one. But I personally would go with Watson just because Murray's not running right now. Normally I would pick Murray, but, it's close. And then he also asked for wide receiver, Higgins, Cooks, or Cooper.
Higgins, Cooks, or Cooper. I'm going with Cooks just because, again, you feel like without Fuller, he's got to get peppered with targets. I don't know how efficient he'll be with them, but Cooks to me is definitely the guy.
Yeah, I agree. And this is another, this again makes me want you, because this is also a huge question, makes you say start Watson. You want to have that stack if possible. So if you have Cooks and Watson throws a touchdown to Cooks, you rack up a ton of points, right? You rack up a ton of points. So if you're going to start Cooks, which I think you should, then I think you should also start Watson. Unless, of course, you have like DeAndre Hopkins, and then now you have a stack for either side, and then you go back to struggling.
And I'll tell you, I like Cooks better than DeAndre Hopkins this week, just because we've seen Hopkins get
this Sunday morning, week 13.
Hey, I'm just speaking it like I see it, but it's true. Hopkins has been taken out of games, and I know that we think, well, he's matchup proof. He's not. Okay, I mean, there have been times where he just it's not like he's not getting targeted. He's going to get targeted, but he's had some games where he really has done nothing. Not that many, but still, against the Rams, they have 3 elite cornerbacks. 3. Okay. And Murray doesn't look right. And I just feel like this is a letdown game for him big time. But we'll see.
All right. Giovanni Perez. Giovanni, good to see you. You're always here every morning. Appreciate it. Who do I start my full PPR, by the way? Henderson, Chark, Renfro, Mims, or Gallup?
Wow. Daryl Henderson.
I think so. Is there another Henderson?
Well, I'm trying to think. Is there another? If so, that's a no for me. To me, and I know you're not quite as big on Chark, as I am maybe, but to me, Chark kind of stands out like head and shoulders above those guys. I mean, he's at least a high-end wide receiver at 3, and then the other guys are more desperation flex.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not super high on Chark, but compared to those other guys, it's got to be Chark.
And it's a good matchup too against Minnesota. So if he didn't have an injury designation at all, he's not like he was just taken off the questionable list. Like, he's good to go. So it's got to be Chark.
Nate Ledwith. Nate is in our Discord server. We were chatting with him last week. What's up, Nate? Just wanted to say thanks for the help. Hey, you got it, man. Appreciate you. You guys have been great, and everyone should absolutely join the Discord. Appreciate it. See, there we go. We got a shout out for the Discord. All right. Scar17S, welcome back. Happy Sunday, guys. Jaceki or Hooper, full PPR?
Oh, man. How many times can Austin Hooper let us down? He should be doing better, which is the same thing we say every week about all the Browns receivers. And then finally, Landry, when I backed off him last week, had a monster week. But, I mean, that's not a bad matchup with the Titans. Here's the thing with Gaskin, we don't know because it went from Fitzpatrick to now maybe Tua starting, and the upside's obviously higher with Fitzpatrick, but it's still Cincinnati is one of the worst against the tight end. And they still don't have any other receivers after Devontae Parker. So I can't back away from Gasicki, in this matchup. So I have him just a little bit higher.
Yeah, I agree. And every week we look at Hooper's matchup. Oh, it's a great matchup. And then he goes out there and gets like 2 catches. So I agree. And then
they could each score a touchdown. They'll probably each maybe score a touchdown and have like 33 yards. Like that's what's going to happen. But
exactly. The difference is probably going to be like 1 or 2 points between these guys, honestly.
Yeah.
Unless one scores and one doesn't. That's the only way. All right. And then he also asks full PPR, Jonathan Taylor or Brandon Cooks?
If it's PPR, you got to go Cooks.
I agree. Got to go Cooks. All right. Sven 1, FR Avila. Man, seen a lot of familiar names. Awesome to see you guys back. Full PPR, Evan Ingram, Mike Gesicki, Robert Tonyan. Pick one.
Ingram is kind of becoming an every week top 5 tight end to me. I mean, I know with Colt McCoy, the worry, but I actually, we talked about Evan Ingram in the tight end one. I think I had him as my must start because, Chris, you know this as a Washington football fan, Colt McCoy, he loved him some Jordan Reed back in the day.
Yep, definitely. Love Evan Ingram with Colt McCoy, so you got to start him, especially over those guys. All right. I think we're going to get a lot of Antonio Gibson and Devontae Booker questions today, and here's our first one. Full PPR, Devontae Booker or Antonio Gibson? Your Antonio Gibson sit got a lot of comments, by the way. It was awesome. We got a lot of good discussion going with Antonio Gibson. I loved it.
Healthy debate. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sticking to my guns. Look, guys, I put my rankings together. I stick to them. Of course, they're not perfect, but you know what? I got Booker, honestly, a couple of spots higher than Gibson. I'm going with Booker. Ray talked about him. If you didn't watch the running back episode, I explained why. I'm off Gibson this week. I know it's hard to bench a guy who just scored 3 touchdowns and had his 115 yards, his best game of his career. Okay, look at the matchup on Thanksgiving. Okay, they were ahead all game long. They could run, going against a terrible defense. It is the complete opposite this week. The polar opposite. The Steelers have the best run defense, one of the best run defenses in the league. They're going to be behind. We've seen Gibson actually more often than not this year. If you look at his game log, more games that he's disappointed than he's smashed. Okay, and he's totally touchdown dependent. So I'm going with Booker.
Yeah, I wish you had a different option than Booker because to me, Booker, like we talked about with Brian Hill, I mean, I do like Booker more than I like Brian Hill last week because we've seen Booker involved even with a healthy Josh Jacobs and looking good. But Booker could completely fall flat. So I will lean slightly Gibson here. But I think Booker does have a higher ceiling this week, as hard as as crazy as that may sound, because like you said, to your point, he's not going to run for 100+ yards against his defense. He's probably not scoring 3 touchdowns again. Whereas Booker, he could score a touchdown or 2, no problem. I mean, the Raiders, they want to run the ball, and Booker's looked good enough. So,
and I'll just say that quickly, as I'll say with Booker, the thing is, it's not like a Brian Hill situation. Well, oh, he's next in line. He should be okay. Booker, yeah, he's next in line, but he's actually looked good in the small, small sample that we've seen him actually play. He's looked really effective. Brian Hill, he once in a while he'll look decent, but 5.5 yards per carry this year for Devontae Booker. He's had a couple of games, 3 games where he's over 60 rushing yards as the backup, where he's got like 7 carries, 5 carries. Okay. So I feel like he's shown that he can be effective.
Yeah. All right. And then Jay Jimenez, the very next question was also Gibson or Booker, which we just talked about, but he also asked this one. How about Gibson or Woods for his flex?
Woods is an interesting name this week. I know we've talked about him also in the wide receiver episode. You kind of just can't bench him, right? Even though this matchup really is not terrible. I mean, Patrick Peterson's not what we remember from a couple years ago. He's still good and he still can have his moments, but I'm not staying away from him. I'm not avoiding a matchup with him. And they move Woods around, right? He gets handoffs and end arounds and he's not going to be shadowed. So I feel pretty good about Woods. Like I said, I'm sticking to what I go with. I'm off of Gibson this week. I'd rather have Woods.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Woods. And we just got word, because we talked about Mark Andrews. We finally got some info. So he remains on the reserve COVID list, and he's not expected to play Tuesday. So don't start Mark Andrews. Get another option for your tight end position. All right. Delusional Tanner just asked, or didn't just ask, but he asked, half PPR, Mike Williams or Brashard Perryman?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Brashad Perriman. I like him this week. Williams obviously in a tough spot with the Patriots corners. I don't hate Herbert this week. I think he can put up enough yards, but I don't like the individual receivers. Now, obviously, Keenan Allen's every week must start, but yeah, I'm backing off of Mike Williams this week because we know he can definitely bust for you. So that's that's the way I'm seeing it for right now.
Yeah, I agree. And Williams at best is the third option on that team, and he might even be the fourth option behind Hunter Henry. Whereas Perriman
Right.
is the 1A or 1B, right? It's basically him and Mims are the two options there. So I agree. I like Perriman better this week. Millie C asks, here's a good question for you. Akers or Snell?
Oh man, tempted me with some Akers, but I'm going Akers anyways, just because Snell's kind of just a guy. I mean, he's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, more that type of runner. He's not gonna. The ceiling is just too low. He's not gonna break away any big runs. Do you feel like he could get a touchdown? Maybe, but Cam Akers could do that in one play. So, to me, the upside is just so tempting with Akers. I know he's not the guy now. I know that Henderson will still get probably just as many carries, but I feel like they finally are deciding to see what he can do. Sean McVay, by they I mean. So if I liked Benny Snell more, I guess, then I would say he's the smarter choice. But my heart says Akers.
I hope you're right that Sean McVay wants to use Akers more, but I don't believe it. I don't trust it until I see it. I know he had a great game last week, but that took a 61-yard run and a score for him to have that game. If he doesn't break off that 61-yard run, then we're not really talking about. And I like Akers. It's not a knock on Akers. I like Akers. I want Akers to break out. But Sean McVay is preventing it. Snell, I know he didn't. He like you said, he's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but he got like 15, 16 touches last week, I think. He scored a touchdown. Not saying he's going to do that, so I got to go with the guy who's going to get more volume. And in a matchup where they should be in control in this game, so he should get plenty of work. It's not like he's going to be game scripted out. Not that I think Akers will either, but I got to go Snell. I mean, I'm not excited about it, but that's where I got to go.
Yeah, it does make more sense. I think Snell's averaging 3.5 yards a carry. I mean, he's just a very touchdown dependent. Like, there's a good chance he gets one, right? Because Washington, even though they have a good front line, they're just not in general a great team. But yeah, it depends. I mean, this is definitely a floor versus ceiling debate.
All right, Kareem Rose, tighten up. I have CEH, Devontae Booker, and Antonio Gibson. Should I start all three or keep T. Higgins in my flex? Now you gotta get T. Higgins out of there. I know he had that touchdown last week, but you can't bank on that again. I mean, I think that was like a garbage time touchdown, and prior to that, he had like one catch. No, because I like Booker this week. I kind of like Gibson this week. I'm a little nervous. Edwards-Helaire definitely makes me nervous with the illness and everything, but I can't start T. Higgins over any of those guys. Do you agree?
Yeah, we've talked about this the last couple of weeks with Higgins. Just too risky. And like you said, that touchdown, I mean, sure, he caught the touchdown, but that was just, it was a little more fluky than anything. I mean, he'd been having a terrible game until then. This is the Dolphins defense. If there's a Bengal receiver you could maybe play with Boyd just because he works mostly in the slot, but Higgins is going to get maybe some Xavier Howard. That's not a good matchup for him. So, yeah, I agree. Just keep an eye on Edwards-Helaire up until kickoff because, again, maybe that illness sets him back. Just be ready in case he's not a full go. But if he is a go, it should be a good matchup for him.
Yeah. All right. Shane's camping vlogs, full PPR. Murray, Latavius Murray, Hyde, or Marvin Jones in the flex.
Oh, man. Latavius Murray was such a good play last week. But I'm off of him this week because, again, he didn't do much against Atlanta the first time. I feel like people are going to maybe overreact to last week's performance where it was purely game flow where they could just run and run and run and run. They didn't need to even think twice about, what play they were calling because Denver didn't have a quarterback. So I feel like Murray is kind of a trap play this week. Before we get to the others, what do you feel like about Latavius Murray?
I mean, yeah, he could definitely be a trap play this week, but it just seems like in the Hill games, well, it doesn't seem like it has been in the Taysom Hill games, him and Kamara have been splitting the snaps 50-50. So he's going to be on the field. Hines, we always know he's got that big ceiling, but he could do nothing, right? He can always do nothing. And with Jonathan Taylor playing and Wilkins playing, that definitely, increases the chances of him doing nothing. And in that game, Indy it's not going to be like last week where they're getting blown out at halftime. They should, I say should because it's football, you never know, but they should be in control of this game, no problem. And then Marvin Jones, every time we think, oh, Marvin Jones, he doesn't do anything. So I still have to lean Murray. I mean, I don't love any of these options, to be honest, but I have to go with Murray a little more just because if he's going to get 12 to 15 carries against this Falcons defense and possibly work near the goal line, I'm not going to say at the goal line because we know that's going to be Taysom Hill, of course, annoying. I got to pick Murray, but I don't love him. I'm not like, yeah, you got to. I know I had him as my must start. So, but based on these options, I like Murray the best personally.
Yeah, and I'm going to lean towards Hines just because it's a great matchup. And I know Taylor could be the one who has also a big game. They could both have good games, honestly. Houston might be in some trouble. Their defense has been bad anyways, now without their best cornerback, of course, their best wide receiver. So I think Indy is going to win this game. Maybe I'm a little too confident in the Colts, but still, I would go with Hines.
All right. Gus, good morning, Gus. Welcome back. Big supporter of the channel. Appreciate it. 1 PPR. Oh, here's an interesting one. Chase Edmonds or Cam Akers?
If I push my Akers fandom aside for a second, just look at Edmonds. And we both liked Chase Edmonds, all through the first part of the year. Then, when Drake was out, he stepped up, but he hasn't done much lately. And Drake is getting a lot more touches than we even expected. Edmonds is just kind of he's almost been like a Duke Johnson type where he gets a couple of catches, he gets a few carries, and he'll look good once in a while. But I mean, he's not even scoring touchdowns that often. So yeah, I think just Edmonds just doesn't excite me enough. I'd rather take the upside with Akers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was off Drake almost the whole season, and then we've been getting comments on our videos like, hey, should I start Drake or this guy, And I'm answering Drake a lot because look, you gotta be able to pivot when it's time to pivot. And Drake's getting receptions now. He's getting the goal line work. You got to start treating Drake as an RB2 now. So things change in fantasy football. Look at Kamara. Things change. So you got to be ready to pivot if you need to. And then Gus, I'm sorry, I don't understand your second question about Kupp and DK and Murray. So if you want to retype it out, I'll get to it in a little bit here. But I'm having trouble figuring out what you're asking there. All right, me Google. Bears or Rams? I assume he means Bears or Rams DST.
The Bears really should be better, especially in this matchup with Detroit, because Stafford likes to turn it over once in a while. Yeah, I think you got to go with the Bears. Disappointing as they have been as a unit. The Rams, it's just not as good a spot. Murray will turn it over too once in a while, but definitely a higher sack probability for the Bears too. So I'll go with them. Although I don't feel like this is just going to be an exciting game in general. But
that's usually good for your defense because probably not a lot of scoring. So I like the Bears better. And then Reed or Rudolph at tight end. Here's a question we probably didn't think we would be having in 2020.
Yeah, I like Rudolph, honestly, because, again, Irv Smith has always been out a couple weeks in a row now. I know Thielen is back, so that definitely – he's probably not going to have a game like he did last time, but it's going against the Jaguars. And I like Rudolph quite a bit. No, he hasn't been getting in the end zone. That's the only thing that's holding him back, why we haven't really noticed him. But I actually lean towards Rudolph. Also, Brandon Ayuk is back, so that kind of limits Reed's, my interest in him.
Yeah, both these guys to me, pretty. I'm not super high on either, but I'll go slightly to Rudolph. Like you said, with Thielen back, probably not going to get touchdowns now, but Reed has Ayuk and Deebo Samuel back, so not great for him either. All right, Clutchful asks, can I trust Gibson this week against the Steelers, or do I play Mostert or Gaskin? So basically, Gibson, Mostert, or Gaskin. I assume
you got
two guys.
Yeah, you got two other good options there. I have both those guys ahead of Gibson, so that's my lean. Now, those are two other players we haven't mentioned. We didn't talk about Mostert yet. I mean, Mostert, we know what he can do against Buffalo. This is a decent, not amazing matchup, but I feel like they might lean on him a little bit more. So I would probably I would go Mostert, honestly.
See, I still lean Gaskin. I guess I'm just a sucker for guys that are going to get all the work. I'm just a sucker for them, right? Give me the guys that I know Gaskin's not super exciting, but I mean, we saw before he got hurt, he was like in every week you had to start him. I know he doesn't have a huge ceiling because of this offense. But a guy that's going to get 90% of the running back touches, he's going to catch 2, 3, maybe 4 passes. Again, Tua starting. I really like Gaskin this week. But to your point, Mostert's a great start too. It's really close. That's just me personally. I'd rather have the guy who I know is going to get, 15 to 20 touches. Although Mostert can get 12 touches and do a lot with them. So,
well, and I'm more a sucker for upside, but Mostert did get 16 carries last week. That's a good sign, and Buffalo not a terrible matchup. So it's close. Honestly, I had them right next to each other in ranking wise. So it's kind of pick your poison. But for me, it's between those two. I slightly lean Mostert. I guess you slightly lean Gaskin, but both are pretty solid choices.
There you go. Martin Kears, standard scoring. He has an unusually large collection of running backs. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good. And he's got to pick 2 of these guys: Gibson, Booker, Hines, Gaskin, David Johnson. And this is standard scoring. So.
Okay. So standard scoring, that to me, definitely, I would have Hines probably last out of those guys anyway. So to me, that pretty much knocks him out, right?
Yeah. Standard scoring, Hines is out.
And same thing with Johnson. I'd say I have him below those others, right?
I agree. We're looking at Gibson, Booker, and Gaskin. Pick 2.
Gibson becomes more interesting now because touchdowns, that's what he does. He scores touchdowns. I still have Gaskin ahead of him. And personally, I would still have Booker ahead of him too, because there's a really good chance he scores a touchdown against the Jets. And he's not going to rely on pass catching either. So I would go Booker, Gaskin.
Yeah, I agree. That would be my choice. The reason why I kind of like Gibson in this week in PPR formats is if Pittsburgh goes up like 2 or 3 scores, he's probably going to get a lot of crappy dump offs from Alex Smith that will salvage his fantasy value. But that's not going to help him in standard scoring leagues as much, right? If he's catching 7 passes for 30 yards, that's not really going to do much for you.
Yeah, and that's interesting because J.D. McKissic looking like he was going to be, a great option with Alex Smith at quarterback. He became a check down master, but now all of a sudden we've seen McKissic fade right from the offense a little bit, and Gibson been more involved. So it's interesting to see if that happens. Let's say they do fall behind by 2 scores early. Is McKissic going to all of a sudden take over a lot more snaps, or are they going to stick with Gibson more? That'll be the interesting thing. You would think they would try to get Gibson involved, in more aspects of the game, not just, okay, we're behind, you're out, it's McKissic time. You know what I mean? That's not always the best way to come back from behind.
No, it's not. But it's Washington football team, so who knows? Right. All right, David Vanderwick, full PPR flex, either Pittman or Shepard. Ooh, I like both those guys this week, but let's hear your thoughts on that. Pittman or Shepard, full PPR.
I mean, again, I just try to visualize how I think this game is going to go, and I'm feeling the Colts this week. I know Pittman let you down last week, but he did get targeted 9 times. Chris, you mentioned that in our wide receiver video. We're not going to back off of him because he also has a really good matchup this week. So I am going with Pittman, even though Shepard. Here's the thing with Seattle. I know we've been saying all year, Seattle's secondary, of course. They're giving him a ton of yardage. Last couple of weeks, not so much. They've started to tighten things up. Got a new slot corner in there, so that's what makes me worry a little bit. Not worry, I guess I should say, but it's not like auto start. Oh, start all your receivers against Seattle. It's not quite that way anymore. So I would actually go with Pittman.
Yeah, this is I like both these guys, by the way. But this to me is like a ceiling versus floor play. Pittman has a higher ceiling. The problem is he's attached to Phillip Rivers. They have a matchup that they should, like you said, they should control the game. Phillip Rivers might only throw the ball 20 times in this one, right? And he might only throw the ball to Pittman 3 or 4 times in this game. We don't know. Whereas Shepard doesn't quite have the ceiling, but we talked about Colt McCoy. He likes the checkdowns. He's like the Alex Smith type. He likes those short passes. That's what Shepard does. So I think, yeah, he might not have a huge ceiling in this one, but he could catch, 6, 7 passes and get you whatever, 70, 80 yards, which is a solid floor, a very good floor, actually. So to me, it's more what you need. Do you need the ceiling? You go with Pittman. And I like both these guys. Or if you need the floor, you go with Shepard. To me, that's how my mind works when I think of these guys.
Exactly. And, not worried, I didn't even mention Colt McCoy because I'm not worried about that. In fact, he might be a more accurate passer when compared to Daniel Jones when it comes to a guy like Shepard. I might be worried more about Darius Slayton this week, even though he would have technically a better individual matchup. than Shepard, but I'm not worried about Shepard's, how many times he'll get targeted, how efficient he'll be with him. So I don't dislike Shepard, but I think, with Pittman, the ceiling is higher. And Phillip Rivers has been pretty good the last couple of weeks, but there's going to be very little resistance in that Houston secondary, I feel like. So,
all right, the chosen rows. Ooh, Landry or Parker?
The Dolphin or the former Dolphin? You got to go with Parker. I mean, he's got it pretty good against the Bengals. I don't think it really matters too much which quarterback is starting. He's the wide receiver one, like without a doubt. So I'm going to stick with Parker.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Parker more with Fitzpatrick, of course, but he's been good with Tua. It shouldn't, maybe his ceiling isn't quite as high with Tua, because Tua won't, force it in there when it's not really there like Fitzpatrick will, but it's still a great spot for him. He's still a great play. I got to go with Parker as well.
And I'm glad you phrased it that way. It's not that he isn't as good a quarterback. It's just he's not a gunslinger. He's not a risk taker. He's going to make the smart play. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole Tua Fitzpatrick debate. We can put that on the Discord.
That'll take us the whole rest of the show if we start getting into that. So let's not do that.
Yeah, bring that to the Discord.
All right, Abraham Green, pick 2: Julio, Ridley, Debo, or Corey Davis. Man, those are 4 good choices.
I think you'll agree with me. Ridley has to be one of them, right?
Yes. Yeah. Ridley is like a top 10 every week guy for sure.
Yeah. And okay, here's the thing with Julio. It's, he's going to play, but he's heading into it with this injury still. It's been bothering him. I mean, man, if it's a must win, I would feel better sticking with a guy like Debo.
I can't. See, this is maybe like one of my faults when it comes to fantasy football. I have lots of them. This is maybe one of them. I can't not play Julio Jones because the 152 touchdown upside is there every single time he steps on the field. I know we've seen it a lot this year where he starts a game and then he limps off and then you don't see him the rest of the game and you're like, oh man, that was terrible. So certainly if you don't I don't want to deal with that. I get it. Me personally, I can't bench him. And I do like Debo and Corey Davis this week, but I mean, they're not for sure's either. Like it's no guarantee that Corey Davis or Debo Samuel are going to have great games. They should, but it's no guarantee. So for me, it's Ridley and Julio. I'm okay if you go Ridley and one of those other guys.
Yeah, and my fault, I will say, Corey Davis, we both really like this week, but not over those other 3 guys. And then, what my fault is probably like when it comes to guys like, say Cam Akers versus, Chase Edmonds, like I won't take the safer route. I'll shoot for upside. That's my fault. Sometimes a little too risky, but that's in matter of talent or matchup or opportunity. When it comes to being risk averse as opposed to a guy like with health issues, I play maybe a little too safe sometimes. So like I'm backing off of Julio. I have him honestly outside my top 20, even though he is playing, because there's guys I'd rather have Amari Cooper. I'd rather have Devontae Parker. I would take those guys over him. And so Debo, I have higher. I have him at number 15 this week. I'd rather have Debo, and he could have just as good a game as Julio.
Yeah, this is why fantasy football is so fun, because there is no right answer, and you got to make these choices. Yeah. It's not fun when you make the wrong choice, though. Like, right? It's not fun when the guy on your bench goes off for like 35, like 3 scores. That's not fun. All right, Garrett Yonker. Need 2 running backs in standard scoring between Zeke, Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery, Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. Zeke is the interesting name here. It's like, do we trust Zeke? I'll say right now out of that group, this might surprise you, but I have David Montgomery as the top choice. He's kind of my lock.
Out of that group, you have to start David Montgomery in this matchup for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's Detroit, and they're going to give him the ball a ton, and he looked really good this last week. So yeah, I'd say David Montgomery is a yes. Edwards-Helaire should have a good chance. It's just that, that illness, it's kind of been bothering him. I might prefer, again, this is what I just finished talking about. I might just prefer to say, well, stick with Zeke, because Edwards-Helaire, we don't know. And it's, there's a really good chance. How many times, Chris, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, have we seen it? Edwards-Helaire just doesn't get the ball. And what are you starting him for? So out of those guys, I think I have Zeke would be my next choice.
Yeah, Montgomery for sure. the problem with Edwards-Helaire isn't just the stomach issue. It's the fact that they have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and they can just throw the ball every drive and score touchdowns that way. They don't really need him. But the problem with Zeke is they don't need him either. They're giving the ball to Tony Pollard. He's not really getting involved. So I'm going to actually say Jonathan Taylor here because I feel like game script will be in the Colts' favor. It's standard scoring. He's got a chance for the touchdowns. I'm not that worried about Wilkins. I'm not super worried about Hines. I'm going to go with Montgomery and Taylor, but it's close between Taylor and Zeke.
Yeah, I have Taylor and Zeke right next to each other. The only thing is it's just kind of the same thing we talked about with Taylor. We don't know exactly how much he'll touch the ball. Zeke is still the guy there mostly, although he doesn't look like the guy very often anymore. But yeah, in standard scoring, that does make him more interesting though, but it's close.
All right, unproven. Mike Williams, Julio, or CeeDee Lamb. I assume you can only pick one of those.
If those are the choices, it's Julio.
Yeah, I agree. Got to start Julio. We're going to get a lot of Julio questions. I can already see them. All right, Wahab Ali, pick 2. Julio, Michael Thomas, or Cooper Kupp?
Pick 2?
Yeah.
So with those are your choices, I'm going with the other 2. Michael Thomas, you kind of have to start.
Yes.
I don't have him as wide receiver 1 this week. I have him kind of high end wide receiver 2, but we saw he did really well against the Falcons, and it's the Falcons. And then Kupp, like I said, there's really no reason to avoid him, so I would go those 2.
Yeah, this is maybe one time where I could forego the risk of Julio because Michael Thomas with Taysom Hill, I think you got to start him. And then Cooper Kupp, I feel good enough about Kupp's upside to bench Julio and not have to stress about him limping off the field in the first quarter or something. And then he also asks, oh, wow, Mitch Trubisky or Big Ben? Mitch Trubisky has a great matchup this week, and I don't know if people realize this. He scored over 20 fantasy points last week. It was all in garbage time, but hey, they still count.
It's true. Well, here's the thing with Ben. That's an interesting question because Roethlisberger is questionable. I think he'll play. Like, I don't think is there a legit concern that he won't play at all?
No, I think he's questionable every week and then he plays.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry too much about him. So I can't put Trubisky ahead of Ben. I know on paper it's a good matchup, but it's still Trubisky. So no, I'm sticking with Big Ben.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Big Ben too. There's just too much risk with Trubisky, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't overthink the matchup thing because yes, Washington is a negative matchup for quarterbacks, and yes, Detroit is a great matchup, but the talent level doesn't balance out, those things. Doesn't tip it to Trubisky's favor.
All right, pick 2.5 PPR. See, another Julio question. Julio, Ridley. Oh, we did this question. He asked it a second time. Okay. Pablo Riverol. River. Again, guys, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I apologize if I just butchered your name, Pablo. Non-PPR. So standard scoring. Mike Williams, Pittman, or Edwards-Helaire. We're going to get a lot of Edwards-Helaire questions today, I see. Williams, Pittman, Edwards-Helaire, but this is standard scoring.
And just one of those guys.
Yeah.
It should be Edwards-Helaire, but then Pittman is right kind of there for me. But again, it's just the whole risk factor because Edwards-Helaire could give you very little, even if he does play. Like we've been saying, he could play and then get the ball 6 times. We've seen it. But I guess for now, man, I'd hate for Pittman to have a big game and then Edwards-Helaire's. I think you got to stick with Edwards-Helaire for now. Well,
the problem is they played tonight, right? The Sunday night game.
Yeah, the Kansas City game's at night.
Okay, so what do you do if you start Edwards-Helaire and then right at game time before game they're like, you know what, he's too sick, he can't go. Well, what is your other, like, you're done unless you have somebody on your bench that you can just put in there. So I would just, this is where I maybe play it too safe personally, but I would just roll with Pittman. I like the matchup. It's standard scoring, so that knocks him down a little bit, but he can score a touchdown. But I'd rather just put the guy in there and then, you might be kicking yourself at the end of the night if Edwards-Helaire goes out there and scores 2 touchdowns, but at least you don't have to worry about the fact that Edwards-Helaire gets ruled out right before the game and you can't do anything. You got to take the 0.
Yeah, but it's a good point. Well, first of all, because it's not PPR, that's why I'd say Edwards-Helaire. Yeah. But also, if you have somebody you can pivot to, if you have Le'Veon Bell, obviously as your backup, and Edwards-Helaire doesn't go, then that's what you do. But if you don't, then yeah, you just play it safe.
All right, Ed Seat 1 needs 2 in full PPR. Michael Thomas, Gibson, and Ridley. Well, we already said Ridley's a must start pretty much, right? So we know Ridley. So Thomas or Gibson, and I'm pretty sure I know where we're going on this one.
Yeah, if it's full PPR, it's Thomas.
Yeah, love Thomas with Taysom Hill. Joseph asks you, should I drop Madison so I can start Gaskin off? 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Gaskin's a starting running back. Madison's only going to become a starting running back if Dalvin Cook gets injured. 100%. Drop Madison, pick up Gaskin. Yeah, 100%. You can probably roll Gaskin rest of the season too. He can be like an every week start for you, no doubt about it.
Exactly. As even if let's say Dalvin Cook after today is ruled out for the season, you got Madison. Is Madison necessarily going to outperform Myles Gaskin? No, he's not Dalvin Cook. I mean, we've seen him let down even when he was the guy earlier this year. So yeah, you definitely do that.
Kamui X24. Who should I start? DJ Chark or J.K. Dobbins?
Like I said, I've seen a little bit here and there where people are on Dobbins this week. I know it's the Cowboys, but still, it's still a 3-man committee. He's coming off a week he didn't even play. So yeah, it's Dobbins is too risky this week.
I agree. Start DJ Chark. Chill Will. Can I confidently start Julio and Kamara full PPR? Confidently? No. No, but you probably have to. Like, you probably have to start those guys, but confidently? No. And yeah, it's crazy, but here we are, man.
That's yeah. It's got 3 more weeks from now. We won't be able to say, "Oh, that's 2020" anymore. We can't. We have to use it for all it's worth the next couple weeks. This 2020, Kamara and Julio are risky options. But who else you got? That's the question. Yeah. Who are your other options?
Right. Now, I will say this: I saw a report this morning that Drew Brees they said he's improving and he's eligible to be back next week, and there's a chance that they think there's a chance that he will play next week. So if you have Kamara, Brees could be back just in time for the playoffs. Let's all fingers crossed. If not, hopefully, I still believe he'll be back week 15 for that KC matchup. They don't want to play KC with Taysom Hill. I don't believe.
Right. And that's the thing is the Saints now they're fighting for the top seed in the whole conference. So they're going to play it smart. Obviously they're winning with Hill, so they don't need to worry about rushing Brees back, but also exactly what you said, when push comes to shove. Yeah. They're going to have to make sure Brees is there for that match, but also that he's ready for the playoffs so that he doesn't come in, rusty after 5 weeks off and he hasn't played. So he's going to probably come back week 15, maybe 16, because when they say, "Oh, he might be back next week," that really means the next week.
Yeah, I think week 15 at the latest. I don't think they're going to go into that KC matchup with Taysom Hill unless he's absolutely cannot play. I just don't think Sean Payton is going to let Taysom Hill get slaughtered by KC, but you never know. All right, Merrick Lassick asks, I hope everyone is doing great. Hope you're doing great too. Half PPR, he needs to pick 3. Latavius Murray, D. Johnson, I'm going to assume David Johnson. Yeah, because he said running. Okay, Latavius Murray, David Johnson, Todd Gurley, Nyheim Hines. Ooh, Tim Patrick. Haven't got a Tim Patrick question in forever. Kiki Kuti. So he's got to pick 3, and he needs at least 1 running back. This is half PPR.
I was waiting on when we were going to get the first Kiki Kuti question because, he was one of the top pickups. Well, so let's start with this. Tim Patrick, my boy. I'm always big on Patrick. Think he's underrated. But no, I'm not starting him this week. I'm going to have to cross him off of that list. Let's get to the running back thing first, though. Who are the running backs? We got either Murray or Hines.
Murray, Hines, David Johnson, Todd Gurley.
Okay, so personally, I wouldn't go with Murray. And Gurley is not a great option, but I still would have him over to those others, I think. So I would go with Gurley.
I would go with Murray, but maybe I'm too high on Murray this week. But it just seems to me like with Taysom Hill, the game plan is pound the ball, and that's more what Murray does, not so much what Kamara. Kamara can run the ball for sure. He's a good runner, but he's not a 20 carry guy. So
yeah. And they're both actually pretty similar. Neither of them are going to get a lot of action in the receiving game. They're both going to be, not completely, but somewhat dependent on goal line work. So very similar. Just kind of depends on how you feel those games are going to go. But to me, it's going to be one of those guys, but not, David Johnson. I'm not really trusting him this week.
No, and then he needs 2 more in half PPR.
Okay, so what are the other choices again?
Well, so he's going Murray and Gurley, right? He's got those 2.
Uh-huh.
Okay, then he only needs 1 more between David Johnson, Nyheim Hines, Kiki Kuti, half PPR.
Well, here's where I talk about upside. Honestly, I might roll the dice and go with Kiki Kuti because we have seen in the past when he is healthy and he's needed because somebody else is hurt or whatever, he'll get targeted, and he has some rapport with Deshaun Watson. Don't know what exactly happened. I know he's been banged up a lot, but I don't know why he just really hasn't gotten any run this year. And they added Randall Cobb for a reason, right? I don't mind Kuti in this lineup.
I agree. I think you got to play the upside here with Kuti. I agree. So it's Murray, Gurley, and Kuti. All right. Kuti. I'm saying cutie like he's a
Kuti.
Kuti.
Yeah.
Or Samuel Rodriguez. Full PPR. Pick 2. Terry McLaurin, Chase Claypool, Pittman, D. Johnson. I don't know if that's Deante Johnson. Let's just say Deante Johnson because it's all, wide receiver pick 2. So it's got to be Deante Johnson. Okay. So McLaurin, Claypool, Pittman, Deante Johnson.
If it's Deante Johnson for me, I mean, he was my must start this week. So, yeah, you definitely start him. I don't care if he dropped the ball. Tell me your receiver never drops the ball besides Larry Fitzgerald, who is not fantasy relevant anymore. Okay, so Deante Johnson is a yes. I mean, you agree with that, right?
I agree with that. I think McLaurin's a week start.
McLaurin, there's no – I mean, unless the injury is a concern, I don't think it's a concern.
Yeah, so there you go. Those are your 2, right? Johnson and McLaurin.
Yeah, McLaurin is an every week top 10 receiver, period.
Yeah, just don't even take him out of your lineup. You just leave him in your lineup every week. Don't even worry about it. John Lee, can you guys bench one between, sure, Gore, Zeke, Aguilar, or Parker? He's got to bench one guys.
Well, say it again. What was the first one?
Gore, Zeke, Aguilar, or Parker?
Well, it's going to be either Gore or Aguilar. Did we say this is PPR standard?
Didn't say.
I mean, if it's PPR, I'd say you bench Gore. I know Aguilar is kind of boom bust. Although last week he finally, for the first time, put up just like an average, mediocre stat line. Like it wasn't all or nothing. He was just like, I mean, I don't know. I don't hate Aguilar in this matchup. I know Gore is the safe play though. He's going to get touches. It's one of those 2 guys. Which one are you leaning?
I'd honestly bench Zeke. Maybe I'm too low on
really?
Zeke. Zeke did not 10 carries last week. Look at his game logs. I mean, okay, he had that one big game like 2 weeks ago when he scored a couple touchdowns. But outside of that, look what he's done since Dak Prescott has gone out. He's done nothing, right? We're just living on name value here. This is 100% name value. If his name was Frank Gore, we'd say, oh, you got to bench Frank Gore. It's no brainer. You bench Frank Gore, right? Or if his name was, I don't know, Benny Snell, you got to bench Benny Snell, 100%. It's Benny Snell. But because his name is Ezekiel Elliott, we say, oh, you can't bench him. I think you bench Ezekiel Elliott. Aguilar has a ton of upside. Look, Aguilar could do nothing, but he has a ton of upside in this matchup. I already talked about I like Parker. Gore is going to catch 2 or 3 passes, believe it or not. That's what he's done in the 2 weeks since P. Ryan's been out. And he's going to get you 15-plus carries, and he's in a good matchup. So I'm benching Zeke out of this group personally.
And it's actually a really bad matchup. He's on the road at Baltimore. So and
they're healthy.
It's not like this is a good
They're getting a bunch of players back off of COVID. It's not like the defense we saw last week, which was still good.
And the only thing is tough is because last week, obviously not good for him, and he just keeps fumbling the ball. But the week before that, he looked like old Zeke, right? And he had his 100-yard game finally, and it looked like he's kind of, rounding back into shape. But that was off the bye week. Maybe I don't know what the issue with him is. He should be fine, right? The passing game, I get it, but there's really no excuse for Zeke to be doing what he's doing or not doing. So, but again, to me, it's just the ceiling compared to, Gore or the risk that you get nothing from Aguilar. I mean, it's just it depends how safe you want to play. Okay, so I'll just say this: if it is standard non PPR, then yeah, you could go with. I actually would probably go with the running backs. I would go Gore and Zeke. I would bench Aguilar. But if it's PPR, then no, I gotta keep Zeke in there. Sorry, I would still bench Aguilar.
All right, I don't want to make this a huge Zeke discussion because we still have a ton of questions. But
yeah, let's get to the other questions.
Well, since week 5, 12 carries. Okay, 19 carries, but he did nothing with it. 18 carries, did nothing with it. Then he had that big game, and then last week, 10 carries. So
yeah, well, they were behind all game. I mean, they were down to Washington somehow.
Who do they play this week? Baltimore. You expect them to be beating Baltimore? Like, the offense is terrible, and the defense is going to be good. But anyways, let's move on because we got too many questions to argue this for the next hour, which we probably could. All right.
Again, take it to the Discord. If you want to tell me if Zeke is still a starting running back, that's what the Discord is for.
We can talk about this all day. PPR pick 2 for wide receiver and 1 flex. Are we picking 2? Hines, Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. Okay, he needs 2 wide receivers and a flex. Okay, Hines, Jonathan Taylor, and Marvin Jones, Denzel Mims, Julio Jones, Travis Fulgham. Ugh. Well, you gotta start Julio out of that group, like 100%.
Yeah, Julio is a yes. Fulgham is a no. Like, that's easy. And then we need another receiver between Mims and
Marvin Jones.
I don't mind Mims. Again, it's not a bad matchup. He's been at every game he's played at least 40 yards, and the last couple has been over 60. But again, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year. You're still kind of, you're limiting maybe your ceiling there. But Marvin Jones has a terrible matchup. But Kenny Galladay's still out, and now Swift is out. I feel like Jones is a safer play.
I don't know. I'm going with Mims. I'm going with Julio and Mims for my wide receivers.
Yeah, it's tough.
So many times, like, this guy's out, that guy's out. It should be Marvin Jones, and he does nothing.
We have seen that. I'd slightly lean Jones just because it's the Jets. No, I like Rashad Perriman better than Mims. But anyways, and then we need a flex between the rest of them.
Yeah, between Hines, Jonathan Taylor, and then I guess Mims. If you're going with Jones, Mims could be your flex.
I'd go with Taylor.
See, I would go Julio, Mims, and Taylor. So pick your poison with Jones or Mims, I guess.
Yeah.
But definitely Julio and Taylor, I think, are in your line.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Jeremiah Hudson, Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Edwards-Helaire, Booker, Gallman, what, you just have every running back? Like, nobody in your league has running backs? Booker, Gallman, or Sanders. Pick 3 in PPR. So I think we both agree Sanders is a must-start. Despite what
Sanders must start.
The matchup is too good. Don't worry about last week. Roll him out. He'll have a good game. So Sanders for sure. So now it's between those other guys for 2 spots.
Okay, so we got to pick 2 out of those 28 running backs. Okay, tell me again because I forgot the list. I heard Gallman, Booker, and Hines and all the. Okay, so who else? Who was a cross out? I don't like Gallman this week. I might be able to just cross him out compared to the others.
So Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Dobbins, Edwards-Helaire, and Booker.
I would say Taylor. For me personally, Taylor and Booker.
Yeah, I like Sanders and Booker for sure. I can almost make a case for Gibson here. It's risk. There's risk with Taylor. It's close for me between Taylor and Gibson. I'll just go Taylor so that he doesn't have to sit there and try to decide. So definitely Sanders and Booker. Though, and go with Taylor. How about that?
Definitely Sanders. Yeah, I actually really like Sanders this week, especially if you guys do play, DraftKings or whatever. Sanders might be. He's probably not underpriced, but still, a lot of people are going to be off of him this week.
Yes. Kenny Chapp, Landry or Shepard in the flex. Didn't specify scoring format, but
still go Landry. I know it's not as great a matchup like last week, and Titans, don't forget they added Desmond King. That's going to make things tougher in the slot, but I'd still lean toward Landry.
I'm going to lean with Shepard, like I talked about before with McCoy. I think he's going to get peppered with targets. I'm still not ready to trust Landry. I'm playing him in one league where I have to, but I'm not ready to trust him yet. So, all right, Joshua Farrell, Trubisky or Taysom Hill?
Yeah, it's Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill. Come on. He's going to get you at least one touchdown with his legs, and he'll probably throw for 200 plus yards because he's going to have to throw this week.
There's really no reason not to have Taysom Hill as a top 10 quarterback this week. I mean, he's playing the same team that he crushed a couple weeks ago.
Exactly. All right, Davis Hauser. PPR, pick 3. Jonathan Taylor. Man, so many Jonathan Taylor questions. Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, Booker, or Gore? Okay, well, I think we both agree Sanders and Booker got to start those 2.
Pick how many? We're just picking 2 out of those guys?
No, we're picking 3. So one more between Taylor,
Hunt, or
Gore. Taylor, Hunt, or Gore?
I mean, Hunt's in every week must start. Sanders, yeah, you don't worry about him. So, and then Booker, we like Booker. So,
who was the 3rd?
Wait, maybe I misheard. Say them again.
Taylor, Hunt, or Gore for the 3rd?
Taylor, Hunt, or Gore? I would stick with Hunt.
Yeah, I can't bench Kareem Hunt. I know he didn't do much last week, but I still like him. All right, big perm, half PPR, pick 2, Diggs, Cup, or Dobbins?
The first 2.
Yeah, Diggs and Cup for sure. Rigo 206. Getting a lot of Dobbins questions today too, man. Dobbins, Hilton, or Zeke at the flex?
Oh, here we go. We're not going to debate the Zeke thing. I have Zeke over Dobbins. I don't know. Maybe you don't, but yeah, Dobbins
I still have Zeke over Dobbins because at least he's only splitting with Tony Pollard. Dobbins might be in a 3-man timeshare. I still have Zeke over Dobbins.
And I like Dobbins rest of the season. He might be actually pretty strong, throughout the playoffs, but not this week. Even though the matchup is great, not this week. Okay, so let's rule out Dobbins. So we have Zeke and who else?
Hilton.
I don't mind Hilton this week, honestly. I kind of like him. Do I like him better than Zeke? That's the whole – again, if you feel really good about your other choices, and it seems like if those are your choices, you probably have a pretty strong roster. You could go with the upside of Hilton, although I have Zeke still ranked a little bit higher overall.
Yeah, I would play Zeke. Here's the problem with Hilton. He had 5 catches last week. They were all in garbage time. There's not going to be a garbage time this week, or there shouldn't be. They could be, but there should not be a garbage time this week for the Colts. They should be in control. So even though I just argued about how much I don't like Zeke, I like Zeke better than these guys. So Zeke for me.
Yeah.
All right. Tony Merlin, Deshaun Watson, or Justin Herbert?
I think we're going to have another difference of opinion here. I know it looks like a terrible matchup for Herbert, but I kind of like him a little better than Deshaun Watson. Won't go into all the details there, but I know Herbert kind of checked it down a lot to Eckler last week. Don't think they're going to have to do that quite so much. So I lean a little bit towards Herbert this week.
See, I lean a little bit towards Watson just because he's really, really good and he's been playing so well. Now, maybe that Fuller injury or
without Fuller though,
maybe the Fuller suspension will really, affect him. We'll see. But right now, I got to go with Herbert. Juan Luigi Buffon, Kyler Murray, or Kirk Cousins?
Okay, so maybe this is my first crazy answer of the week, but well, probably not. You guys probably think that I've had several, but I'm going with Kirk Cousins because, I mean, besides the fact that, it's Jacksonville, look at how he's done the last several weeks. Talked about on the waiver wire, and you have to love him this week. Murray, there's some question marks, and going against one of the top defenses in the entire league, I mean, I have no reason not to say Cousins.
I know my only hesitation with Cousins. Well, I have 2 hesitations with Cousins. Number 1, everybody says Cousins is going to smash this week. And usually when everybody says that, it goes the other way. And the other thing is Dalvin Cook could just run the ball 30 plus times and score all the touchdowns, and Kirk Cousins doesn't do anything. So I still have to play Kyler Murray. I can't bend. I know Kirk Cousins is in a great matchup, but I still got to play Kyler Murray over Cousins personally.
You gotta, and the one thing almost makes me a little more confident is that Cook was a little banged up last week, and then Madison is out. He's not playing because he has this emergency, appendicitis. So they might not have to, but they'll choose to maybe pass a little more than they would run before because they don't have someone to spell Cook. They don't want to run Cook into the ground in a game where they really don't need to worry about winning against Jacksonville. So I feel like Cousins might get still enough pass attempts. And also Jacksonville hasn't been getting blown out of the water. They're still losing every week, but they didn't get blown out last week. They kept it close. with Glennon. I think they could keep it close enough where I feel like, Vikings kind of have to keep throwing the ball. So I feel pretty good about that. And their secondary is totally banged up still. Sidney Jones is out. Henderson's still on IR. So I think it's just too much of a smash spot for Cousins.
See, I think the Vikings will run Dalvin Cook into the ground. I don't think they mind running them into the ground at all.
They might. They shouldn't, but yeah, they might.
Saw like a few weeks ago, he got 30. He averaged like 3 yards a carry, and they still gave him 30 carries. They didn't care. He was just running into walls over and over and over. And they're like, we don't care. Just keep handing off. So I think they will run him into the ground, but we'll see. All right, Neeraj Trivedi, Julio, Jefferson, Diggs, McLaurin, bench one of those guys. Wow, that's a wide receiver.
That's an impressive group. So we only bench one. That's good. We already said you got to keep McLaurin in there. Jefferson, you definitely have to keep in there. We just talked about that. Diggs, and you can. To me, it's Julio.
Yeah, I think this is the case where you can just say, you know what, I'm not going to take the risk of Julio limping off the field. I'll bench him because your other 3 options are so good.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only one of the group that has any risk at all. So.
All right, Drew McCarty, PPR, Gallman or Hunt?
That's Hunt.
Hunt, definitely. Because we already had that one. Scar 17S, how about we smash that like button, guys? All right, do it. Smash that like button. DH,
Absolutely.
Akers, Murray, Latavius Murray, or Snell. Pick 2.
All right. Well, here we go again with these guys. I'm sticking with Akers, and man, I don't know because I've already dogged Snell, and I'm worried. I like Murray, and I know he's going to get enough touches. Do I like Snell better than Latavius Murray this week? I feel like Snell's going to get more touches, but he's not going to be as efficient. It's hard for me to put Snell. Snell might get the most touches out of those 3, but I might have him last out of those 3.
See, I would go Snell and Murray. I think I like Akers. I wish Akers was happening. I wish he was happening, but I think we're looking at results rather than process. We're not looking at the fact that he only had like 9 touches last week. We're looking at the fact that he had a 60-yard run and a touchdown. If he only gets 9 touches this week, is he going to get a 60-yard run and a touchdown? Probably not. Am I excited about Benny Snell? Not at all. But he's going to probably get 15-plus touches and some goal line work. Same with Latavius Murray. He's probably going to get like 12 to 15 touches and some goal line work. So I like those 2 better. Not that I'm, super excited about it. I just am too worried that Cam Akers are going to go out there and only get 6. We're going to be like tweeting out like, why doesn't Sean McVay use Cam Akers? Dang it. Right. Because that's just what Sean McVay does.
Yeah. And I dove really deep into Akers, the article I wrote. And it's not as simple as he's going this way and then Darrell Henderson being phased out. Henderson is still getting as many touches, and I don't think that's going to change necessarily, but we've seen he also likes kind of a hot hand approach. So here's the thing. If Akers is running well, and if, the game flow breaks the right way, we could be in line for a huge day for Akers, and he doesn't need 20 carries. That's the thing. That's the difference, right, with him and Henderson. And Malcolm Brown is kind of just fading away, right? He's just there as the 3rd guy. So I know it's a total risk. Like Akers could do nothing, right? But that's the kind of upside that I feel like wins weeks. And you don't want, like I love Frank Gore, like personally as a player, one of my favorite players ever, obvious reasons, but he's not going to win you your week, right? He's just a guy that if you don't have anybody better, that you play him, right? I kind of feel like Benny Snell is the same. He's just a younger Frank Gore. And so he's not going to get you a win.
That is a huge insult to Frank Gore.
What? Okay. All right. Well, I just mean fantasy wise. I mean fantasy wise.
But there's a top 10 running back in the NFL.
Okay, so he is he is what Frank Gore is now at the age of 37. Okay. That's what Benny Snell is now at the age of 24.
Okay, all right.
Does that make sense? Okay, for fantasy. So, in other words, Snell doesn't do anything for me. I guess let's put it that way. Akers could be that guy. I'd rather have that upside.
All right. Trey gets buckets. Full PPR. He needs a flex. Pick one out of Jacoby Myers, Michael Pittman, Sterling Shepard, not David Johnson. So between Jacoby Myers and Sterling Shepard, full PPR.
Just one. I don't mind Myers this week, but I wouldn't have him as the guy. We both like Pittman. but I know you like Shepard. Let me take a second look. I think I have Pittman a little bit ahead of Shepard, but I know you probably
It's ceiling floor for me with these two guys. We already talked about it. It's
yeah.
ceiling floor. Because Pittman, look, the Colts might not need to throw the ball much. Phillip
Right.
Rivers isn't really very good. And so he might only have like 3 catches for 40, 50 yards just because that's all he gets involved. But he could also have 100 plus yards and a touchdown. Whereas Sterling Shepard, I feel like probably not going to score a touchdown, not going to have a big play, but he could get you 6 or 7 catches for 70 or 80 yards. So in full PPR, you're talking about a 14, 15 point game. That's a great floor. So that's how I break it down. Do you want the ceiling? You go Pittman. Do you want the floor? You go Shepard. I like them both this week. They're in great spots. Can't go wrong with either. It's just more about what you're more comfortable with.
Yeah, and the more we talk about, like, Shepard wasn't really much on my radar this week, but it really does make sense to keep him in there. Like, I'm not big on Slayton this week, but Shepard is probably a better play, so we'll stick with him. You know what? I'm moving him up over Pittman in my rankings because you talked me into it.
All right. Jack Garcia, Jacoby Myers, or Marquise Brown with Trace McSorley. Well, it's not going to be Trace McSorley. It's going to be Lamar Jackson. All these Murray questions. So don't start Marquise Brown. Just start Jacoby Myers. I mean, am I right? Are you starting Marquise Brown with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, because the first time that we see Marquise Brown have a good game, it was without Lamar Jackson. But also, Mark Andrews is out. So you think, well, maybe Brown will get the targets, but does it really matter? Yeah, I don't think you can start Marquise Brown.
No. All right, Joshua Popolov, PPR, Booker, Edwards-Helaire, or Beasley, or Cole Beasley.
I don't mind Cole Beasley this week, but not over those guys. So
no, but you only start one. So Booker, I think you just start Booker again. Don't run the risk of Edwards-Helaire being ruled out at the last minute. Booker's more than good enough. Just start him. Chad Ebel, Beasley, Davis, or Kuti. Davis. What? Corey Davis? I assume Corey Davis, since we're talking about, not Mike Davis. He's on bye.
Not Gabriel Davis.
Yeah, maybe. But he did say Beasley. I'm not sure. If it's Corey Davis, it's for sure Corey Davis.
Yeah, if it's Corey Davis, then Corey Davis. If it's Gabriel Davis, then I would say Beasley.
Yes, I agree. Carlos Lopez. Who do I start? 2 wide receivers in a flex. Standard scoring. Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Boyd, no. Landry, Mostert, Melvin Gordon, no. Hines. In standard scoring, no Hines, right? We agree with that?
We're picking how many of those?
Well, I'm just trying to eliminate the options so we can make it easier. So in standard scoring, like no Boyd, no Melvin Gordon. Are you with me on that? No Melvin Gordon?
Oh, yeah. No Melvin Gordon.
And no Hines, right? In standard scoring? Okay.
So
we're picking 2 wide receivers in a flex between Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp. Well, I guess we just did it for you. It's Michael Thomas
Cooper Kupp.
It's Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, and Jarvis Landry. Because we're not no, there's also Mostert in standard.
I would go with Mostert over Landry, yeah. So I would go Thomas, Kupp, and Mostert.
I agree. Thomas, Kupp, and Mostert are your choices there. All right. Well, we already had Watson and Herbert. Will you start Kamara? It depends on your other options. Probably, but it depends on your other options. I don't love it.
I'm not avoiding him. I think I have him like within my top 15 running backs. And I know I kind of tweeted, I said, is he even an RB2 this week? I was half kidding. I'm not, putting him over, like, I'm not putting Wayne Gallman over Kamara, you know what I mean? But it depends if you have somebody with higher upside, like we've talked about.
Yeah. Jessica Bell, welcome back. Juju or Deante Johnson? Ooh, here's one for you. Juju or Deante Johnson in half PPR?
And this is crazy because, I love me some Juju, and, I've had my questions with Deante Johnson, but I did say I have Deante as a must start this week, and I am sticking with it. So it's Deante.
Yeah, he's the wide receiver one there. I love Juju. I was super high on Juju coming into the season, but Johnson is the wide receiver one there. All right, Taylor.
Chase the targets, right? Who's getting the targets? It's Deante Johnson.
Taylor asks, Gaskins or Dobbins half PPR?
Gaskin.
Definitely Gaskins. Mike Smith, Miles Sanders or Kenyon Drake? Okay, Sanders, Drake, Taylor, Gio, pick 2 in full PPR.
Definitely Sanders.
So Drake, Taylor or Gio?
Not crazy about Gio, especially this particular matchup. He just, I mean, not to his own fault, but got a third string quarterback and a tough defense in Miami. So I would scratch Gio. And I know you're a kind of a Gio fan, but you would probably agree with me on that.
Yeah, it's just without Burrow, I can't trust anybody in this offense. Can't trust anybody.
No. I know we like Taylor. He's got the upside, so maybe Taylor your second choice there.
No, I'm going to actually say Drake. I just feel
Really?
better. Drake's getting 15 plus carries. Now he's getting targeted because of that shoulder. Well, we're seeing two things with the shoulder for Murray. One, he's not running as much. He's a little more hesitant to run because he doesn't want to hit the shoulder, obviously. And he's not throwing deep as much. He's throwing more dump offs. And they've both helped Drake. And like I've been super low on Drake for 11 weeks. But now it's time to say, okay, you got to look at what's going on and say, hey, it's time to actually start playing Kenyon Drake because the situation has changed for him and it's gotten better. So I would go Sanders and Drake personally.
Drake's going to get more touches again. We kind of repeating the same concept here. We know he's going to get the touches. Thing is, to me, that Rams, I mean, talk about a tough front line. It's the Rams. That defense, I mean, he could get shut out. Taylor also could get shut out, but against Houston, I mean, Houston is one of the worst run defenses there is. So I feel good. It's risky, but I'd rather, again, chase that upside with Taylor. So I feel like he could have a strong game.
All right. Angelo Preda, Deante Johnson or Wayne Gallman? Deante Johnson. Look, guys, Deante Johnson. Why is everybody scared of Deante? Because he had all those drops last week. That was a weird game. It was on Wednesday. It was cold. Nobody could catch the ball. Ebron had drops. Juju had drops. Claypool had drops. That Ravens tight end dropped a sure touchdown. Not Mark Andrews.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me again, how many times did he not drop the ball and catch it last week? Was it 8?
8, I think. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to focus on the ones he did catch than the one he dropped. Okay. So yeah, I'm going Deante Johnson for sure.
All right. Lucas Fogg, PPR pick 2, Booker, Marvin Jones, Gurley, Chark, or Debo.
We're picking 2. Okay, so not Marvin Jones out of that group. I'm probably leaning to the first and the last. I like me some Debo this week.
Yes. I mean, with what we saw from Debo last week, it's like, okay, to me, he's like a every week wide receiver 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only question with him was, is he healthy? Well, he's healthy, so I think, and this is a good matchup for him. So yeah, you got to keep Debo in there.
Yes, I agree. Booker and Debo. AK, welcome back, AK. Kirk Cousins or Taysom Hill?
Now that is interesting. We already talked quite a bit about both those players. If I'm having to pick one, oh man, I'd still, as much as I love Kirk this week, I still would have to lean towards Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I always got it. Like, he can run in at least a touchdown, maybe 2. That's just so much upside with his legs. And against Atlanta, he's going to throw more than last week. He's probably going to go over 200 yards passing. Might not throw for a touchdown, but it won't matter if he runs for 2. All right, Nathan S. Start 2. McLaurin, yes.
Yes.
Lockett. Thomas, I assume you mean Michael Thomas. Wow, you can only start 2 of those guys?
Yeah, we haven't had any Lockett questions. And we should note Lockett has not really done much lately. And remember last year throughout the second half, the entire second half of 2019, he did nothing except for one monster game. And other than that, he was a really big bust while Metcalf kind of came on. I feel like history is repeating itself. I don't feel like this is a great spot for Lockett. So I'm sticking with Thomas.
Yeah, I like McLaurin and Thomas. Thomas, for as long as Taysom Hill plays, you can feel great about starting Thomas again. All right, Sven1 FR Vila asks another question. Deante Johnson, Michael Thomas, or Julio Jones? Pick one, full PPR.
Okay, pick one. So I would back off of Julio for the reasons we mentioned. I like Deante this week. I would stick with him.
I agree. I like Michael Thomas with Taysom Hill, but give me Deante Johnson attached to Big Ben. I like that better. Boss Buns. All right. A.J. Brown or Julio Jones. I mean, this is a spot where you can easily bench Julio Jones for A.J. Brown in a great spot against Cleveland. No Denzel Ward. No reason to be worried about A.J. Brown. I love Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, and Ryan Tannehill this week. I'm starting them in DraftKings. Which, by the way, now I just said I'm starting with DraftKings. It means they'll probably do nothing, so pivot accordingly.
Yeah, but I mean exactly what you said. And there's not many weeks where I'll say I love Tannehill. I do this week.
Yeah. Mike Smith, Justin Herbert or Herbert Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Josh Allen is an interesting name because he's a little banged up, but he's fine. But San Francisco defense, now that they got some of their parts back, like Richard Sherman, it's not a great spot for him. And John Brown, when he's missing, Allen isn't quite as efficient. So there's some risk here. But of course, his upside with his legs, you can't really drop him out of the top 10. I don't know. I just Allen kind of worries me this week. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, he worries me too. I have him in my home league, and he's been worrying me. But I can't start him over Lamar Jackson because he's on somebody else's team. Herbert is on the waiver wire, but I don't think I could start Herbert over Josh Allen because, like you said, you look at last week, he only got me 16 points, but that was with a fumble and an interception. You know what I mean? Like, is he going to throw an interception this week? Maybe. Is he going to fumble this week? Maybe. But if he doesn't, I'm looking at a 20-point game out of him, and a game where he wasn't even that great. So his running ability props him up so high, and his ability to score a rushing touchdown like Taysom Hill. Like, look, if you're going to put Taysom Hill in your top 10, then Josh Allen has to be in your top 10 because he can run the ball just like Taysom Hill, and he's a way better passer than Taysom Hill. So I think if you're going to have Taysom Hill in your top 10, then Josh Allen has to also be in your top 10, even in a tougher matchup.
I get that line. I'm thinking with Herbert, if it was a better matchup, then I would say Herbert. And I was saying I don't hate him this week, but I don't know that I would have him over Josh Allen for what you just said, the floor. So I would still lean towards Allen, and Lamar Jackson. There's just too much risk, I think.
Yeah, I agree. You still got to start Josh Allen.
Yeah, I don't love Josh Allen, but he's kind of by default the top of those choices.
Yanni Hahalis for his flex. Antonio Gibson, Corey Davis, or Wayne Gallman. Not Wayne Gallman. So Gibson or Davis.
I know I don't love Gibson, but out of those choices, probably would stick with him.
See, maybe I'm too high on Corey Davis in that Titans passing game, but give me Corey Davis. Like, he didn't save his PPR or not, but I think 80 yards and a touchdown is well within Corey Davis's range this week. And he might even go. Yeah. Is Antonio Gibson getting you 80 yards and a touchdown against Pittsburgh? I mean, it's possible, but is it well within his range? Like is he for sure? Like I don't know.
No, that's true. I mean, put it that way. The thing with Corey Davis is we've seen him fluctuate. It is a great spot for him. I would say if it's PPR, then yeah, Davis might actually be the pick, but with standard, it's a little riskier. I mean, I guess Gibson's just kind of more of a safety play, but maybe not.
It's interesting because usually we answer that question totally opposite, but I like it. Maybe I'm too high on Davis this weekend at Tennessee.
No, I like me some Corey Davis this week too.
Shamar Sam, James Robinson, or Sanders? Ooh, there's one for you.
I got them both as top 10 running backs. Robinson's a safer pick. I would probably stick with Robinson.
Yeah, this is one time where I can go Robinson over Sanders. Well, this is one time where I can say no to Sanders in a great matchup, just because Robinson has a good matchup too against Minnesota, nothing to worry about there. And he's getting pretty much every single running back touch in Jacksonville. Whereas Miles Sanders, we don't know. Boston Scott catches some passes. Corey Clement sometimes gets goal line work. James Robinson gets it all. So I got to go James Robinson. Shane DePoe. Here you go. Russell Wilson or Taysom Hill? Wow. Remember when Russell Wilson was like going to win the MVP, and now we're asking if we should play Russell Wilson or Taysom freaking Hill?
And you know what? I'm going with Taysom freaking Hill because I'm a little worried that Russell Wilson isn't going to put up great numbers, kind of like last week, just because the game script isn't going to favor. I think they're going to run the ball, keep it on the ground. I don't think they're going to have to pass the ball very much. So I kind of like Hill better this week, which is amazing, even me that I'm saying that.
I can't do it.
I know it's tough.
Because if Taysom Hill, if he doesn't score a touchdown with his legs, which I'm sure he will, but if he doesn't, what's he going to get you? Or at least Russell Wilson, man, he can hit DK Metcalf deep on a touchdown. I still got to roll with Russell Wilson. I know it hasn't been fun having Russell Wilson lately, but I still got to roll with him.
But that's exactly the thing is Hill will run the ball, and Wilson isn't running very much lately. And Hill, there's a really good chance to score a touchdown on the ground. So I just feel like he's a safer play, which is crazy. But in this matchup, I do.
Crazy. Nate Ledwith. All right, he does have a question. What is my opinion on Gabriel Davis rest of the season? He's okay. He's like a boom bust wide receiver 4.
Gabriel Davis, I know he had that nice game last week. With John Brown gone, I mean, yeah, he's going to get targeted some, but he's still going to be more boom bust. So he's more of a kind of a fringe wide receiver 4 for me. I think Cole Beasley is really the one, even though it didn't happen last week, that we're going to see going forward. He'll be more valuable in fantasy. So Davis, I mean, he could be good in the right matchups. This week isn't the right matchup. So he's a nice guy to have on your bench.
All right. Wilden. I don't know. Start 1. Amari Cooper, Booker, or Aguilar. He didn't specify PPR or standard.
Amari Cooper
or Booker. It's not, I mean.
And not Aguilar out of those two.
Out of those 3. So Booker or Cooper?
I would stick with Booker.
I think so. I agree. Cooper Stark, feeling a bit shaky about Michael Pittman. Is he a good flex? He's a great flex. He's got plenty of upside. He's got a great matchup. He's a great flex. You shouldn't feel, I mean, yeah, there's risk, but there's risk with a lot of guys. So, all right, here you go. Shamar Sam, Antonio Gibson, or Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Robert 3333, Kirk Cousins or Taysom Hill? Did we just have this question? No.
Yeah, I think we just answered that question. I'm sticking with Hill, even though I love Cousins this week. You got to go with Hill.
Yeah, I agree. Davis Hauser, pick 3. PPR, pick 3. Kareem Hunt, Jonathan Taylor, Booker, or Miles Sanders? I think not Jonathan Taylor, right? Not that we don't like Jonathan Taylor, but I like those other 3 guys more.
Yeah, we definitely like Taylor this week, but yeah, Sanders must start. Hunt, to me, is kind of a don't worry about the matchup every week, kind of a top 10 running back. So, yeah, out of those, yeah, I would agree.
All right, Shade 721. He needs 2 in standard scoring. Man, a lot of Jonathan Taylor, Booker. Jonathan Taylor, Booker, Gaskin, or Mostert. He needs 2 in standard scoring.
Ooh, and again, I hate because all those guys from here like clumped together in the exact same range, kind of like that high end RB2 range. I know what we talked about with Gaskin is kind of the safest play there. I like Mostert this week. There's not a guy I could just like cross out and eliminate from that group. You know what I mean?
I think I can eliminate Jonathan Taylor just because. I mean, sure, there's risk with Booker, but Booker, Gaskin, and Mostert seem locked into roles, right? That Colts run game, you never know. Week to week, it could be a week where Wilkins randomly gets 20 carries, and we're like, what the hell is going on, right? That's just how the Colts roll.
Yeah.
So I think I can eliminate Taylor, even though I do like him. So then it becomes Booker, Gaskin, and Mostert. I think I got to go in standard scoring. I think I got to go Booker and Mostert, but maybe Gaskin. That's tough. Those guys are, like you said, those guys are like right. They're like right here. It's like
I know. I still have Booker, I think, a little higher than Gaskin. Even though, like we said, it's a little more risk, but not really for me. So, and the only thing is, it's possible since he's been on IR that maybe they don't give Gaskin 20 touches. I mean, it would make sense if he does, but to me, I would go Mostert and Booker.
All right, Andy Wang, Cam or Matt Ryan? Oof.
Cam is questionable. He's going to probably play, but it's banged up, and it's I don't know. I'm feeling this might be a week where he lets down anyway, so I would stick with Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I don't really like either of them this week, but at least Julio's going to start the game, which is good for Matt Ryan. I don't know if he'll finish it. So I think you got to play Matt Ryan, but I don't really like either this week, to be honest. Jordan Householder, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk, T.Y. Hilton, Sammy Watkins, pick 2, half PPR. Ugh.
I'm never going to go with Sammy Watkins. I'm just not. So I can scratch him off the list automatically. Is there anybody else you would scratch off that list?
I would actually start Sammy Watkins out of those guys. I'm just, you know what?
Really?
Just give me the guy attached to Patrick Mahomes. I'll take my chances.
Yeah. I feel like we say that all the time. And even McCall Hardman, we thought he was going to break out this year. He does. I mean, you can't start him. He hasn't been any better than Marquise Brown, who everybody dogs. And I know it's different because he's the number 1 receiver versus the number 3 in Kansas City. But still, I just feel like, I can't trust Watkins at all. But I never have.
I mean, he's had 7 or more targets in 4 of the 6 games he's played this year. So he had 7 targets last week. So I know he could do nothing with them, but I mean, it's not that I love Sammy Watkins. It's that we're talking about Mike Williams, who we don't really like, Christian Kirk, who we don't really like, and T.Y. Hilton, who got all his targets in garbage time, and there's not going to be a garbage time. So it's not like I'm like, oh, you got to start Sammy Watkins. I'm just looking at this group saying like, well, at least Sammy Watkins gives me some upside.
Yeah, I mean, out of that group, honestly, I like Hilton the best, even though I know is a total risk there. But they're all risky, they're all risk. We're picking 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going Watkins and...
I'd probably go Watkins and Hilton. I don't love it.
I would go Hilton. Yeah, but I know you don't love any of these. I would go Hilton and... man, probably Williams. Probably Williams.
It's like he got 4 meals in front of you, and they're all disgusting vegetables, and somebody says, pick 2 for your dinner. And you're just trying to pick the 2 vegetables that you like, that you dislike the least. Right? It's unfortunate.
Pretty much. Although I kind of feel better about Hilton. I don't mind him, if you're talking about like a wide receiver 3 or 4 range, I don't mind him. But yeah. Yeah. And I'm such a fan. I like Christian Kirk, but it's just he only benefits from, it seems, good matchups, and he just let down the last couple of weeks, and it's a terrible matchup this week. So I'd go with Williams, I guess.
All right. Here's an interesting one from Connor Boyce. Miles Sanders or Calvin Ridley in the flex?
Oh, now that is interesting. And did we say PPR, full PPR, or no?
Didn't say.
If it's PPR, I think you'd have to go Ridley.
Yeah, I think so.
If it's standard,
I
probably still would go Ridley. Yeah.
I think I go Ridley either way.
Yeah.
All right. Might have to start. I think we got to start going rapid fire here because we got about 15 minutes and we still have a ton of questions. And this should be an easy one. Kabir Patel, Jonathan Taylor, or Tyler Boyd at flex, full PPR. No brainer.
Taylor.
Yep, no brainer. Joshua Pop, PPR, Booker, Edwards-Helaire, or Beasley? Pick one, I assume.
Booker.
Yeah, Booker, I agree. Mike Smith, not Melvin Gordon, Myles Gaskin, or Austin Eckler. Pick 2, full PPR. So we're both going Gaskin. And Eckler is like, you got to start Eckler.
Yeah, Eckler, there's no doubt there.
So Gaskin and Eckler, right? Not Melvin Gordon. And then also Jordan Reed, Zach Ertz, or Austin Hooper.
Well, I have Ertz as a sit. Like, don't trust him this week. He could do something maybe, but I'm not going to take the chance. God, Austin Hooper. And I don't know who. Let me check my ranking. Where do I have him? Because I hate that I constantly have Hooper in the top 10, but there's no other tight end that I would rank ahead of him. So who is it, Hooper or Reed? Hooper. I have Hooper higher.
Yeah, I agree. I think you play Hooper and hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
Anthony Polano, here we go. Ryan Tannehill or Lamar Jackson?
Oh, man. Oh, can you start Tannehill over Lamar Jackson? You could.
I could. I would.
Yeah.
Oh, Tannehill.
Probably.
I love 3 touchdown upside. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, this is safer play, and you don't want to risk it in this point, of the season. So, yeah, good. The thing is, we don't know how Lamar Jackson's going to respond, right? Being off and the weird schedule and all that. So, Tannehill is just the better choice.
Elijah Bastian, Amari Cooper, or Juju?
I got Cooper higher.
Ooh, interesting. Is that just because of the matchup?
Partly the matchup. I'm a little not concerned about Juju, but I just, the whole thing. Deontay Johnson's leading the way with targets. I don't know. This is going to be a pass heavy game. So I love Deontay Johnson. He's got a better individual matchup. I think Juju, not going to get shut out, but I'm not feeling him so much this week.
All right. Jason Aaronsberg needs to pick two running backs and one flex. Standard scoring. Dobbins, your boy Snell, David Johnson, or Brandon Cooks. Ooh.
Definitely Brandon Cooks.
Definitely Cooks. So that's your flex. So now he needs two running backs between Dobbins, Snell, and David Johnson.
I'm not a Snell fan, but I'd still go with him over Dobbins just because we don't know what Dobbins is going to do. So I hate it, but I'd go with Snell and David Johnson.
Ooh. Yeah, I hate it too, but I think so. You know what? Yeah, I probably would. If Dobbins gets 15 plus touches, you're going to be kicking yourself, but he might only get like 6 or 7. So,
yeah, but what are the chances?
Yeah. All right. Taylor Mason, another standard scoring. Standard scoring, start one. Gio, Jamal Williams, Jeffrey Wilson. Or one of the Atlanta running backs. I assume not Gurley. I assume he means Hill or Ito Smith. So
you got to stick with Gio.
Yeah, I think out of these three, you got to go with Gio. He's the one that's going to get the most touches, even though I don't love it. Got to go with him. Mr. Crowler XD, sup? What's up, Mr. Crowler? Please pick two. Full PPR, Beasley, Higgins, Aguilar, or Cup. Okay, definitely Cup is one of them. Who's the other one? Beasley, not Higgins. So Beasley or Aguilar?
Go with Beasley. I know Aguilar might have more upside, but I kind of like Beasley going forward. He's kind of almost a pretty solid wide receiver 3.
Yeah. All right. Angelo Preda asks, Noah can't. I don't know if that was a typo or if he's just like, Noah can't get it done. Or Trey Burton. So Noah Fant or Trey Burton?
Noah can't. Well, if Noah can't, then obviously, Fant. I don't know. He's a little risky. I'd stick with Trey Burton.
Ooh, I was gonna say Fant. I think with lockback, Fant's at least like a top 15 option. Is Trey Burton a top 15 option? I don't know.
I have him a top 15 option because, again, I feel like Houston defense is pretty vulnerable. And they were using Burton a lot in the red zone, so I don't mind Burton this week.
All right. Zachary Chirinkin, start one, PPR, Deontay Johnson, Sterling Shepard, Miles Gaskin, definitely Deontay Johnson, right?
Yeah, out of that group.
Yeah. Jacob Grode, Zeke is definitely name value only. I'm with you, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Vivan Rupani, pick two. Standard scoring. A lot of standard scoring leagues. I know those are still around. Pick two. Dobbins, Deontay Johnson, yes. Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery, or Jonathan Taylor.
Like Deontay Johnson the best, and then David Montgomery we like quite a bit. So
crazy. Like I think I would start David Montgomery over Kamara, honestly.
I got him ranked higher this week. I mean, it's a great spot for him. So it's crazy. But again, you got to throw a name out the window. Look at performance. Same like we just talked about with Zeke. So Kamara, if you happen to have an option that's better, he's not really an auto start, at least for now.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, Jacob Grode, Cup or McLaurin? McLaurin. Yeah, McLaurin. Top 10 every week. Will Maroney. Did we have this one? Taysom Hill or Justin Herbert?
I don't know if we have that specific, but it's Hill. It's definitely Hill.
Go with Hill. We did that one. Austin Kohler. Love the content, boys. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Standard league, Cousins or Lamar? I guess it doesn't matter if it's standard. Okay, Kirk Cousins or Lamar Jackson. Here we go.
Kirk Cousins.
Ooh, okay, there you go. It's close for me. I'd probably take the safety of Lamar Jackson, but Cousins has tons of upside. So, and then here you go. Jones Jr., I assume Marvin Jones or Benny Snell? Standard. So Marvin Jones is 4 catches for 45 yards. Isn't really going to do a lot for you. But how will Benny Snell's 15 carries for 32 yards help you out?
Okay, so who's going to get a touchdown more likely? Probably Benny Snell. So I'll go with Snell.
Yeah, exactly. Agree. All right.
I mean, that's it. That's all you're hoping for, realistically. If it's standard league, yeah. If it was PPR, you'd go Marvin Jones, but
Super Trooper YT full PPR pick 2, Hopkins, Montgomery, or Gibson. We only got 10 minutes. We still scrolling through this list, so we're just gonna have to you're gonna have to take our word for whatever we say.
Okay, so we're getting DeAndre Hopkins, David Montgomery, or Antonio Gibson.
Yeah,
we're picking PPR. 2.
Yeah, picking 2.
Okay, Montgomery, and not loving DeAndre Hopkins this week, but I'd have to keep him in the lineup.
Agree. Jacob Groh, Kyler Murray, or Lamar Jackson?
I still got Murray higher.
Yep, I agree. Mia Mateos Adams, should I play Hines or Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper.
Agree. Amari Cooper. Prosk 12808. Jonathan Taylor or Cooper Kupp or Deebo Samuel for his flex. Didn't specify PPR or not.
I'm sticking with Deebo. I think he's kind of an every week set and forget kind of guy, but especially this week. Taylor could smash, but it's just a lot riskier.
Even over Kupp? You got Deebo over Kupp?
I do have Deebo just a little bit. I mean, that's really close right there, but I do have Deebo this week over Kupp.
Okay, let's see. Greg Chirinkin, flex, PPR, David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, James White, Michael Pittman. Not David Johnson and not James White, I think, right? So we're at Drake or Pittman, PPR.
We're picking 2.
No, just 1.
Oh, just 1. Okay, so say it again. It's not James White.
Not James White, not David Johnson. Kenyon Drake or Michael Pittman, PPR.
That's if it's PPR. Nah, I still would probably have to go Drake. It's a safer pick.
I agree. We got a kicker question, so you could take this one.
Finally, no.
Ray Gamer, Will Lutz, Tyler Bass, Jason Myers for his kicker.
I'm going to cross Bass out. I know he's been good and got a lot of opportunities, but not ideal there. As far as location, you got to prefer guys in the domes. I'm probably taking too long in this kicker question. It's Will Lutz.
All right, Bobby Joe Wallace, Zeke, Mostert, or Booker?
Just one, Zeke, Mostert, or Booker?
Yeah.
Man, and not Zeke. He's third out of those group for me. Yes. I really like Mostert this week, but I think I still have Booker one spot higher. In fact, actually, no, I don't have him one spot higher. I lied. I'm looking at my standard rankings. Mostert or Booker, and I think I got Mostert higher.
All right, there you go. Armin Akins, half PPR. Jonathan Taylor or Booker?
Booker.
Yeah, agree. Let's see. Standard scoring, pick 2, Chark, Amari Cooper, Wayne Gallman, J.K. Dobbins, or Pittman?
I like the first 2 the best.
Yeah, Chark and Cooper, agree. Carlos Gomez, who should I start this week? Claypool, Lockett, or Julio? I assume we can only start one.
Ooh, just one? Man, I would say either if you're feeling good about Julio, he's probably going to do the best if he stays healthy all game. If you don't want that risk, and no, I would stick with Julio because Lockett's not really doing much either. So I would stick with Julio.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. We did that one. I did that one. Isaiah Entertainment, pick 3. Kamara, Chubb, yes.
Chubb,
James
yes.
Robinson, yes. Austin Eckler, yes. I think this is you can sit Kamara out of those guys, right?
Yeah, if those are your choices, then yeah.
Yeah, you can sit Kamara, sadly. But yes, you can sit Kamara. Hopefully Breeze will be back sooner rather than later. Let's see. Austin Kohler, standard scoring, Pittman or Marvin Jones?
Pittman.
I agree. Danny Messi, Hunter Henry or Dallas Goedert, standard scoring?
Go with Henry, not so much because I'm worried about Ertz cutting into Goddard's work, but actually the Packers are pretty tough against the tight end. Plus maybe Ertz comes back and steals some targets, but you should feel pretty good about Hunter Henry anyways.
Yep, I agree. Ertz back. Wow, a lot of discussion in the chat, guys. This is awesome. I'm glad some of you are also answering the questions. Help us out here.
Yeah, and you know what? 5 more minutes. We got until games start to kick off. let's keep it going. Join that Discord and have some game day discussion or anything else you want to talk trades, dynasty,
Just
whatever.
put the Discord link in the chat. Click it. So if we don't get to your question on air, we're going to try. We can always answer it in there. Let's see. Jonathan Mole, Hunter Henry, or TJ Hawkinson?
Oh, Hawkinson. It's a great spot for Hawkinson this week.
Yeah, Hawkinson. Hoop category, Pittman, Hunt, or Murray? I assume Latavius Murray, full PPR.
If it's just one, Hunt, you got to start Hunt.
Yeah, got to start Hunt. Let's see. Did that one. Keep it going on. All right, Bob Duncan, Cup, Parker, or Sanders for his flex in full PPR?
It might be a little riskier, but I would still stick with Sanders out of that group.
I agree. Love that matchup for Sanders this week. All right, Davis Hauser, bench one in PPR. Hunt, Taylor. I think we did this one. It's Taylor. Bench Taylor.
Yeah.
Christopher Ryan really have to win this week. Full point PPR. Jacoby Myers, Brandon Ayuk, Nelson Aguilar, Kuti, Gio Bernard, Latavius Murray. He's got to choose one of those guys.
Wow. One out of all those, I would go with Ayuk.
Yeah, I agree. Ayuk. Alexander Garcia Osuna. Bench two between Alvin Kamara, James Robinson, Wayne Gallman. You can bench Gallman. Raheem Mostert, Aaron Jones.
Wow. Okay. You never bench Aaron Jones and Mostert.
Robinson.
I like. Huh?
Not benching Robinson this week, right?
No, pretty much never. So
it's between Gallman. Well, Gallman's bench, so it's between Kamara or Mostert.
Wow. I got Mostert higher than Kamara this week, honestly.
Yeah, I think you can bench Kamara this week, sadly. Gunplum Meister, Deebo Samuel, Devon Parker, Kareem Hunt needs one for his flex.
You need one? Man. Okay, what? Same again?
I just scrolled.
Oh, sorry.
It was. I think Hunt was a choice.
Okay, yeah, you stick with Hunt.
Yeah, we are definitely not going to get to all the questions, guys. Wow, we're going to have to speed it up next week. This is awesome. All these questions you guys are getting in. I'm going to try to pick out some that we haven't really covered yet because we've talked about a lot of these guys. We talked about that. All right, here you go. Corey Matheson, D-Hop or Booker half PPR?
Wow. That is I wish I had a quick answer for that one. I don't think you can bench Hopkins just because that's a little too risky. I wouldn't be surprised if Booker does it better, but yeah. I know. Could you bench Hopkins for Booker?
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely start Corey Davis over Tyler Boyd. Let's see. I'm trying to look at guys we haven't talked about yet. Here you go. Zeke or David Johnson PPR?
Zeke. I still go Zeke personally.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Okay, Miles Sanders or Mike Thomas? Didn't specify scoring. Maybe I shouldn't ask that one.
If it's full PPR, you probably should lean Thomas for the safety of the pick.
Yeah. Let's see. Julio, Ayuk, or Fulgham?
No, not Fulgham. Julio still.
I agree. George Ridge, PPR. Who do I bench? Deante Johnson, Kareem Hunt, or Jarvis Landry? Bench Landry.
Landry.
Yep, Alchemy 5150. Debo or Landry full PPR? Debo, right?
Debo.
Dr. Strange, just scroll up a little bit. There's a link. You click on it. You should be able to join the Discord. It's free. We could chat in there. I'm not a big expert on Discord, so that's all I can tell you. Okay, here you go. Half PPR. This is probably going to be the last question. It's a good one, though. Edwards-Helaire, Damian Harris, or J.K. Dobbins?
I would say Edwards-Helaire if there wasn't concern there about his situation. So go with my boy Damian Harris. I like him.
Yeah, and then, okay, one more. Borrego, Santiago, Gaskin, Kamara, or Johnson? I assume David Johnson. I'm probably starting Gaskin over Kamara this week, to be honest.
Probably starting Gaskin just because, Kamara could score, but so could Gaskin. He's in a better spot.
Yeah. Pick 3, Jefferson, Diggs, Thielen, Woods. Probably not Woods.
Same again?
Jefferson, Diggs, Thielen, Woods.
You got to start Jefferson. Diggs, Thielen. Yeah, I probably have Woods last out of those.
Yeah. JR Scoop, Aguilar, Ridley, yes. Keenan Allen, yes. Or Robert Woods, pick 3. Yes, those 3. Ridley, Allen,
Yeah.
Woods, not Aguilar.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
Allen
it's
every
11
week.
o'clock. I apologize if we missed your question, man. We got so many questions today. We're gonna have to go a lot quicker going forward. We're growing crazy, but we appreciate all of you. But yeah, if you didn't get your question answered, hop in the Discord chat. We can chat in there. And we can answer it in there. Here, I'll post the link one more time for you. There you go. There's the link. Good luck, everybody. Take us away.
All right. Yeah. And you know that just shows, like you said, keep growing every week. We appreciate it, especially those of you who are with us each and every week. You want to get your question answered for sure. Make sure you hop on early, right when we start, and stick with us. I know sometimes it's a grind, but you're here to talk football. You're ready for football anyways. What better way to spend it than talking about these debates? Even if it's a player that doesn't relate to your lineup, you might learn something and hopefully help you for future weeks. So keep it coming. All the questions. Join us in the Discord if you get a chance. And of course, tell everybody, not your league mates, because you don't want them to get a leg up, but tell everybody else that you don't play with about us. Hit that subscribe button, spread the word. Appreciate you guys, and good luck in this all-important week 13. We'll have plenty to talk about heading into week 14. So stick with us all week 2 for waiver wire videos, and then our start sit as always.